MAGA supporters have been waiting for. Yes, your prayers have been answered. You have said your prayers. You've taken your vitamin. You have been a good little boy and girl. Donald Trump returning back to the White House today. Can you feel the excitement? This is Bill, Jeff, and Bill. Thank you so much for joining us today. Jeff Hunt is live with us in D.C. All morning, he's going to be giving us the sights and sounds as everybody's lining up to make sure they can get inside to see the celebration later on this morning. We do have a cast of characters joining us. Rory O'Neill, NBC News National Correspondent, is going to be with us. Greg Lopez checking in. Ted Trimpa, Democrat strategist, checking in. George Brauchler checking in. And who knows who else, but most importantly, also you. I got an assignment for you today. But first, let's check in with the weather. Now, today, it's going to be cold, like really cold, single-digit cold. We think we're going to top out somewhere around 7. Yeah, it says frigid temps on the thing I got from the meteorologist department, and -8 overnight. Now, tomorrow, above freezing. Yay! They've got a little exclamation point next to the above freezing, Jeff, for you tomorrow. So that's just here. 40 degrees tomorrow, 14 Z overnight, 33 by Wednesday. We're going to be in the mid-30s rest of the week, and then by Saturday, snow showers should return in the evening. Sunday, snow as well, so make your plans frigid today, and maybe 40 degrees. Oh, celebration. Everyone can get their shorts and tank top out by the time we get to Tuesday on this one. But it is Inauguration Day. The most important question I have for you, the listener, the Jeff and Bill Show. What are your expectations? How are you going to judge success on the second Trump term? Here in my hands, you can see us on the YouTubes, on the Rumbles. I have got a manila folder that I might have absconded with from the sales department across the hall. Went in, I know where the supplies are kept. I got us a manila folder. And on it, I have written Jeff and Bill Trump predictions 1/20/2025. We are going to seal this in a hidden location here in the studio later today when we are done with the show. And then we're going to crack it open just like, one of those, the time capsules that we're going to have available for you. And we're going to check in at the 1-year anniversary of the Trump administration. And most importantly, at the midterms. How are our predictions going? So I want to have the predictions. I've got paper and pen ready. And of course, the all-important manila folder. Now, Jeff Hunt joining us from frigid D.C. this morning. Hello, my friend. How's the weekend?
Oh, my gosh. Billy, this is a spectacle. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people, MAGA hats. I have been trying to walk to the front of the line from the back. I came in off the metro near the back. I've been walking for 30 minutes and have not reached the front of the line yet. This thing is huge. I'm outside the Capital One Center. So this is not a traditional inauguration, which takes place outside of the Capitol on the steps there. Instead, because of the cold, they've moved it inside. It's going to be a small private ceremony inside the Capitol, similar to what Reagan did in 1985. The only people that will be in there will be lawmakers and the president-elect himself. And then he's going to then travel over to the Capital One Center. This is where the Washington Wizards play. It's right in Chinatown. It's a basketball hockey arena, and it can only hold about 20,000 people. There's got to be more than 20,000 people here.
How are they going to decide who gets inside? Is going to be like color of tickets or
first serve?
Oh, really? Nice.
First come, first serve. That's exactly right. So
like that.
A lot of other people that don't want to wait in line, because I bet some of these people have been waiting in line since yesterday. He did a rally here at 3:00 yesterday, and I bet they've lined up since then. So those diehard fans are going to get in and get to be a part of history. And a lot of other folks are settling for watch parties in Washington, D.C.
Wow.
But the energy is wild. I went to the Turning Point inaugural ball last night. J.D. Vance was there, Kash Patel. You had Don Jr., Charlie Kirk, and then the Village People.
No, really? They performed. Oh, my God. How was it? How was the crowd at the Turning Point? How was the response to the Village People?
Oh, it was so much fun. It was great. And there's kind of a surreal moment where I'm standing next to Colorado Republican Chairman Dave Williams singing
great.
In the Navy.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And I sat there going, I'm sitting here with Dave Williams singing In the Navy at a Village People concert. I didn't think that would happen.
No, definitely. I don't think, not on my bingo card. No, not at all.
This is a sea of MAGA hats this morning. The energy is wild. And people are excited. for a new morning in America.
All righty. So, Jeff, what I want to know from you is, what is your prediction for the Trump administration? What are your expectations? You're going to be first up on our list. They're going to put into the manila folder later on. What is your expectation, prediction? How do you judge success? What are you looking for?
Well, you know, Billy, you and I saw it up close and personal what the kind of unchecked immigration has done to people, victims, even from Venezuela themselves, coming up here on the idea of believing that this was an open border and then having to live in the shadows. I think a clear immigration strategy is kindness to everybody. That's what I'm hoping for. Mass deportations, clear immigration system on how people can become United States citizens. That's what I want to see. I'd like to see between 2 and 4 million illegal immigrants deported.
Now, is that over the course of the term? Are we looking at 2 to 4 million over the course of the term, or 2 to 4 million by the time we revisit this at the midterms? I'm just looking at timeline.
Over the course of the term, so let's go 1 million by midterms.
Okay, cool. Let me write that down. Cool. All right. Excellent.
Wow.
Now, that is amazing.
Bill,
Now,
Bill, I just turned a corner, and this line doesn't end.
No.
I've been walking for 45 minutes, and this line is continuing. I've never seen anything like this.
Oh my gosh. Well, hey, Jeff, do me a favor, tread water there, stay warm. We're going to check in with Blake Olson in news, because we've got Rory O'Neill coming up right around 15 after the hour, NBC News National Correspondent. You hear Jeff Hunt live in DC. He's going to be bringing you the sounds. He's hanging out with the people that are lining up to get inside the arena to see Donald John Trump later on today. Of course, because of the weather, we're not going to be able to, participate in the larger inauguration, but this is going to be a fantastic celebration. Also, Jeff visited the Turning Point Ball and the Best of the West Ball. So we're going to get a flavor from the balls, the celebrations, and he has some great conversations with just the average workaday Joe, the people that are sitting behind the counters, the people that are driving the Ubers and things around town, and what their views are on Donald Trump and the change in D.C. We hear too many times from the politicians. Jeff's sitting down and he's talking with the average lunch pail worker. So we'll talk to him about that here in just a minute. But right now, news and comment with Blake Olson.
Hey,
morning, sir. Doing good, man. We're gonna have to talk football later on, probably like in the 8 hour or so, because I got Roy come up here and
great games.
Yeah, and Pat Mahomes is a flopper.
Yeah, that's true.
We're gonna talk about that, my friend.
About that being a soccer guy.
Well, soccer and professional wrestling. I know a fake fall when I see a fake fall. I'm just saying, I'm an expert on this one. Yeah, so we're gonna have to talk about this. How Patrick Mahomes acknowledges through his very own play, not his words, but how Patrick Mahomes acknowledges through his very own play that he knows he plays by different rules than everybody else in the league. But we'll talk about that later, man. What's on your mind? What's going on in news?
Working for him. Yep. Excited for Jeff to be able to experience that. That is awesome. 2 degrees below right now, I believe. Yes, 2 below where I am. Cloudy in Denver. Expecting a high of 8 degrees today. Should be a beautiful day. Our top story.
And we are going to make America great again.
DJT will be sworn in this morning as the 47th president of the United States, as you just heard Jeff talk about in D.C., along with Billy. The day starts with a church service at St. John's in D.C. before President Biden welcomes Trump for tea at the White House. Don't drink the tea. DJT and JD Vance will then head to the Capitol for the inauguration, which will be held inside due to the weather or maybe security threats. Trump is set to sign multiple executive orders just hours after being sworn into office. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that Trump plans to declare a national emergency on the U.S.-Mexico border and rescind Biden's DEI directives. Trump will also reportedly unwind Biden's limits on drilling offshore and on federal land. TikTok is back online in the U.S. The app was dark for about 16 hours from Saturday night until Sunday morning. When users reopened the app, a message popped up. thanking users for their patience and praising DJT for getting the app back online, and Trump at the rally on Sunday.
You know, I did a little TikTok thing. We have a guy, TikTok Jack. He's a young kid, like 21 years old. And we hired this guy, and I went on TikTok. Can you believe what I'll do to win an election? And we went on TikTok, and Republicans have never won the young vote, the youth vote. They win a lot of votes, but they never won the youth vote. We won the youth vote by 36 points. So I like TikTok.
The first hostages released by Hamas are being treated at a hospital in Tel Aviv. IDF officials say the 3 Israeli women appeared to be in good health after being released from captivity as a part of a ceasefire deal in Gaza. Under the terms of the agreement between Israel and Hamas, the first phase will involve the release of 33 hostages in exchange for 1,900 Palestinian prisoners. At least 2 Americans are among those expected to be released in the coming days. Fire crews continue to make progress on the fires in Southern California. Trump says that he will be there this week. Gavin Newsom is ordering state agencies to help enforce laws against looting, loitering, and trespassing in Los Angeles County's wildfire evacuation zones. The Weld County Sheriff's Office is asking for help locating a man who parachuted off a TV tower. The Sheriff's Office says the jump happened last Wednesday outside of Frederick. The jumper lost his camera when he deployed his parachute. Anyone with information about the man is asked to call the Sheriff's Office or leave an anonymous tip. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills. Locally owned and operated since 1954. Online at lairfireplacepatio.com. College football national championship tonight. Notre Dame and Ohio State. The Bills hold off the Ravens, and the Eagles beat the Rams in the NFC playoffs. The AFC Bills win, and they will take on the Chiefs. It's 0 in Englewood, 1 in actually -1 in Lafayette, and 2 degrees in Denver. Monday, Inauguration Day, also MLK Day. Jeff is in D.C., and Billy is in the studio. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
This is News Talk 710 KNUS. You're listening to Jeff and Bill Live. Jeff Hunt in D.C. I'm stuck back here, basically because I'm still considered a person of interest to several things that happen in D.C. I'm just saying, I can't get there yet. Also, give us a call today, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971. I want to know, what are your expectations for the Trump administration? How are you going to judge success of the upcoming term? What do you want to see changes on? Immigration, economy, inflation. What do you think is going to happen with Israel and Ukraine? Panama, Greenland? Are we expanding the country? Are we going to get a balanced budget? Are we going to have changes in healthcare? How effective is DOGE going to be? Will we still have a Department of Education? I want to know what your feelings are, because what we're going to do is put them into this magic manila folder I have in my hands, and then we are going to seal it into an unnamed place somewhere inside the studio here, and then we're going to dig it out like a time capsule 1 year into the term and also 2 years into the term to see how well we are doing. Well, Jeff Hunt, thanks for joining me this morning. I know you're there in D.C., and we have NBC News National Correspondent Rory O'Neill live with us right now. Good morning, Rory. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing, you could put that envelope in the station refrigerator. I'm sure no one will touch it.
Yes, absolutely not. I've got to share this with you, Rory. You've been in radio long enough. At one point here at the 710 KNUS refrigerator, there was a jar of liquid that had separated into 3 different layers. It had some brown stuff in it. It had something look like oil and something that was a little greenish. And it sat in there for months and months and months. I have no idea what it was, but eventually it disappeared. One of those things that you're like, and everyone has that. Every radio station has that pile of stuff that's in the back of the fridge. Oh,
right. It's usually the person it belonged to got fired.
Yes, exactly. I love those emails. Like, we wish them well in their future endeavors. You're like, oh, this is a tough conversation. Yeah. So, Rory, where are you this morning in D.C.? What's going on, and what's the lay of the land?
I'm not in D.C. myself.
Oh, so sorry.
No, it's all right. Clearly all the preparations just sadly have been moved indoors. Trying to get this weather. So they are expecting those temperatures to be in the 20s today, which if you have to be out there, for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours ahead of time, that can really be dangerous. And that was a real reason the president-elect made the choice to move things inside.
Now, this is the first time that it's been inside since '85. What do you think this is going to do to crowd size? But most importantly, what's your feeling on what this is going to do as far as protesters?
Well, we had tickets were being sent out to 220,000 people for this event. So now they're going to be down to 650-ish inside the Capitol. Rotunda, another 1,800 will be at another spot in the Capitol building. Then you've got about maybe 18,000 at the Capital One Arena, the basketball venue. So that's where they had the Village people in Kid Rock last night. President Trump is going to go back over there after he takes the oath of office, and they'll do some version of the parade essentially there at the venue as part of the festivities. But they'll get into the ball programs tonight. I think there are 3 official balls that they'll be having. So plenty of parties all around D.C. to celebrate the new president.
You're listening to Rory O'Neill, NBC News National Correspondent. Now, we know Trump has some big plans for that first 24 hours. We've been hearing rumors of piles of executive orders that he is going to lay his John Hancock on. Can you tell us any more about that? The numbers, the wide-ranging reach they're going to have. What are you hearing about the plans for Trump's first 24 hours?
Yeah, he said at that rally last night that it would be close to 100 executive orders on the first day. Stephen Miller, one of his top aides, told members of the Senate Republicans yesterday, broad topics, that a lot of them were going to revolve around some of the executive orders that Joe Biden had signed and undoing a lot of those on topics like DEI, perhaps trying to undo the orders that banned offshore drilling in most of the waters off the U.S. It's unclear if we can undo that. That's a discussion for another day. And then a lot of them will have to do with immigration as well, perhaps declaring a state of emergency at the southern border, which would give him a broad area of power on everything from tariffs to deploying the military.
Rory O'Neill, NBC News National Correspondent. When you're talking about the deportation and the immigration, we had heard rumors of a shock and awe approach in the first couple of days to show the illegal immigrants that he's serious. Over the weekend, there were reports about a possible activity inside of Chicago, but I'm also now reading this morning that some of those plans may have been changed or scaled back. What do you know about possible illegal immigrant deportation activities in the first few days of the Trump administration?
Yeah, we got word from the man in charge of that immigration or deportation program saying that he was upset by the news leak that suggested Chicago was going to be the site of this show of force. So they've decided to move things to the back burner. We've also heard that other large cities that have Democratic mayors, New York, Boston, places like Chicago as well, were probably going to be the first cities subject to these mass deportations, targeting people with violent records.
Now, you're listening to NBC News National Correspondent Rory O'Neill. I think the last question I've got for you has to center on the protesters. Now, last time Trump was elected, we had a whole bunch of people knitting cute little pink hats. We had millions of marches almost every weekend. There was all of this consternation, both in social media, but also in the mainstream media. I don't see it now. What are you seeing and hearing about the protests, the Democrats, and the lack of what appears to be any sort of a protest or anger over Donald Trump returning to office?
Well, there's a planned protest that was taking place, I think, yesterday and today, each one expecting about 15,000 protesters in Washington, D.C. Around the Lincoln Memorial was the one yesterday. Forgot where today's was supposed to be, but there were a couple of permitted protests that had been scheduled and allowed. Of course, now the cold weather may keep some of those crowds down. You don't know what you're going to get a little bit. But even the pink hat protest came, a couple months after Donald Trump had taken office. So we'll see if they return, or this may be that everyone is a bit used to the way Donald Trump runs the show. I think it's all a bit of wait and see at this point.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we're going to get to later on in the show today. Rory O'Neill, NBC News National Correspondent, is I have been, shocked, I guess would be, by the dramatic turn by the Democrats, because prior to the election, Donald Trump was going to destroy America and tear down democracy, and he was an existential threat to the society and to our very existence. And now, not hearing a lot. I'm super surprised that from the group that said, he's a threat, that they're like, no, it's cold out. I don't know if I can protest. I'm shocked by that, the lack of enthusiasm.
Mark Zuckerberg kicked him off Facebook for what Donald Trump said all the time, and now he's done a 180. And Donald Trump was going to be the first one to ban TikTok. Now he loves it. So DC is a fickle town.
Yes, all depends on who's writing that big giant check. Rory O'Neill, last question for you, sir. NBC News National Correspondent, before we cut you free.
My last question before. Okay, fine.
Yes, exactly. Now, sir, what are your expectations for the Donald Trump administration? You're going to be part of the hermetically sealed manila folder that I've got here behind me. So what would be your expectations for the Trump administration?
It's difficult because, when you look at immigration, the past year, the immigration numbers have actually been below what they were when Donald Trump's last year in office. Or, inflation has come down a lot. I know people want the grocery store is incredibly expensive. I pay those high prices too, but you don't want prices to come down because that's inflation, and that means your economy is in bad shape. So what you really hope for is to raise incomes in order to keep out of it. So the real focus is going to be on what we see for wage growth. And that's going to be the only way you solve the rest of the problems.
Oh, that's a good one. That kind of came out of left field. I wasn't thinking we were going to go with wage growth. Rory O'Neill, I have got you down on the list, sir. We will check in. I'm sure you're going to be joining us later on this week, but we'll check in with that, on the year anniversary and also on the midterms as well. Rory O'Neill, NBC News National Correspondent. He'll be joining us in just about an hour on another story, but we'll talk to you then, sir. Thank you so much. Enjoy your morning.
Talk to you then. Thanks.
Take care. All right, now we'll go back to Jeff Hunt joining us live in D.C. You can give us a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or hit us up on the text messages. Let us know what you think or what are the expectations for Donald Trump's administration. How are you going to judge success? Jeff is outside of the arena where Donald Trump is going to return victorious after taking his oath of office later this morning. Jeff, what's the scene like out there?
Yeah, so I've made it up to about a block outside of the Capital One Center, and then it's all blocked off. So the entire metro there is closed. You can't get within a block right now without going through security. Now, there's big dump trucks that have blocked off the roads, blocked off the sidewalks, to keep any attack from happening, protect the people here and the president coming to visit. But this is wild. I'm up by the television cameras now. There's probably 100 or so television cameras outside, talking to people, talking to the crowd. This is a big moment in American history in the eyes of the world. I spoke to a reporter from the Netherlands, saw Asian reporters. They're all covering this. The entire world is watching the inauguration of Donald Trump today.
Oh, yeah, it is. It is a historic moment because, outside of Grover Cleveland, you don't have someone that was there and then leaves and then comes back. Cleveland found some difficulties in his second term, and Donald Trump doesn't necessarily seem to face those type of headwinds. But in some ways, the country is somewhat poised in many of the same ways, talking about tariffs and talking about where the economy is going at the time. So, Jeff, tell me about the balls that you have gone to. Now, you did the Turning Point one yesterday. What was the crowd like? Who was there? I know you hung out with Dave Williams, and you sang "In the Navy" by YMCA. Again, not on my bingo card. So, tell me about the crowd. What were the feelings like, and what is that ball like? Give us a sense of it.
Incredible optimism, right? The best way to describe it is a golden era. That's the expectation, that we are now in a golden era in America, that we missed this real radical ideology that was weakening our country, causing the inflation, the government spending, the kind of woke agenda that was infiltrating not only our government, but the corporations, and this pushback against it, this reset that's taken place where people are incredibly optimistic. I lived here in 2008, and though it was on the other side, it reminded me of that, where you had back then Democrats and this idea of hope and optimism, very similar, but this time on the right with Donald Trump's taking the office. So we went to the best of the West. That's all the Western states. You get some states that do their own inaugural balls, others combined. And that was the best of the West. So think Utah, Idaho, Montana, Colorado, Alaska, all together. That was a lot of fun. And then the states get to show off. So they have particular food that comes from their state, and then corporate sponsors that are big in those states. Alaska bringing in a lot of oil and gas sponsorships. So that was one night. Last night was Turning Point. Kid Rock came up and played along with the Village People. So when you come to D.C. at this point, it's just a jubilation and a festive attitude and MAGA hats as far as the eye can see, and people having fun and staying up late and getting up early. The idea that J.D. Vance was on stage well past midnight last night at the Turning Point USA Ball. The guy's got to get sworn in today. Gives you a sense of kind of the jubilation and festive atmosphere in Washington, D.C.
You're listening to Jeff Hunt. He is reporting live from Washington, D.C. This is Jeff and Bill. You're listening to News Talk 710 KNUS. And we are going to step aside here for a second and give us a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or hit us up on the text machine. I want to know what your expectations are. How are you going to judge success? I've got one text message that says, deport all idiots, including me. Bill. I'm not certain we're going to accomplish that one by the midterms, but texture, you can always cross your fingers and hope.
Hey, I would like to say this. Bill would have been having a blast last night with Kid Rock and the Village People. And, politics aside, Billy would have had a ton of fun.
Oh, yeah, I would have. With the live music, it would have been a lot of fun. I would have been dancing. I would have been acting the fool. Now, Jeff, when we get back, I want to talk to you a little bit. You're talking about all the enthusiasm, the excitement. What I'm worried about is the enthusiasm and the idea of these unbridled expectations going to set standards that are too high? That even if by any sort of regular way of judging Donald Trump's term, that it could be a success, but when expectations and joy are so high, is that going to be a negative? The idea being, when you had your poll on Twitter, how you were asking about how many illegal immigrants needed to be deported, and they were saying all of them, overwhelming. Are we getting into those type of unbridled expectations that, because they are set so high, will end up making them unachievable? I want to know what Jeff thinks. I want to know what you think. This is Denver's Talk Leader. 696-1971 is our phone number. Hit us up on the text messages. What are your expectations? How are you going to judge success? We are News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning. This is News Talk 710 KNUS. Jeff and Bill live on Denver's Talk Leader. Yeah, I'm Bill Thorpe. Jeff is out in D.C. He is giving us the sights and sounds. He is wandering around the really long line that is already existing outside of the arena where Donald Trump will make his triumphant return later on today. Of course, because of frigid temperatures, nobody's going to be there pretty much outside, hanging out with him there. So the celebration will happen at the arena. Jeff is there in line. He's going to be giving us these sights and sounds. Hey, Jeff, how are you doing? You still freezing out there, man? It's still freezing cold?
Yeah. Hey, good morning, Billy.
Morning.
It is chilly out here. The line is moving, and they're getting people inside, but we're not nearly as cold as you guys are back in Denver. Just a different cold, right? A little bit of a wetter cold, but see a MAGA hat, some vendors everywhere, cameras, people from just about every nation reporting on this right now. Big dump trucks protecting the Capital One Center, but people are moving in. They're going to fill this place up. It can hold a capacity of 20,000 people, and I think they're going to do it easily.
Oh, my gosh. Now, you can give us a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, just like Marcus did. Marcus called the Jeff and Bill show. Hey, Marcus, congratulations. Welcome. It is Inauguration Day for Donald Trump. Are you excited, my friend?
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting year, Billy.
Yeah, I think so,
I
man.
can't wait.
I can't either. So,
this has got to be.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No. What are your expectations, man? Because again, I've got this folder behind me, and we're going to be putting it into a secret location here in the studio, and then dig it out. Pulling the carpet up and stuff here in about a year to see how well Donald Trump has done. What are your expectations? A year from now, 2 years from now, how do you judge this as a success, man?
Okay. Here's what I was looking at. First, he builds the fence on the border, and then I want to see how he's going to handle the deportation, and then the drill, baby drill, and how he's going to do this on his tariffs. And that's a lot to do. But he's going to need a little time on this. But
now,
I just want to see Marcus, if he builds that fence first.
Now, dude, Marcus, let's talk deportations for a second. What number would you like to see in 12 months? How many of the illegal immigrants do you want out of the country in a year for you to say, yeah, Trump is actually kicking some butt?
Well, I don't want to see 1,000.
Oh, that's good.
And I'd like to see maybe 500,000. Yeah. That would be something to see.
That is.
500,000. Now you're doing something, but 1,000, give me a break.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the energy, if he's drilling for energy, do you think by then our gas prices are going to go down, my friend?
I think they're really not going to go down.
No.
Because the companies, they're going to make a profit. They don't want to open up everything.
That's true.
So that's the way I look. But on the tariffs, the tariffs, that's one bothers me. I don't know if it's going to work or not.
Yeah. Now, what do you think about that, man? What do you think?
I know Mexico, they will fall in line because they really need the USA support. And a lot of their workforce comes here. And Canada, I don't know. But sometimes I look at Donald Trump as a don. First we're going to move into Mexico, and then we're going to move into Greenland, and then we're going to take over Canada eventually. And then it's like, don't do that. So it's like.
That's interesting, Marcus, because I saw a conversation about Canada and what it would mean as far as absorbing certain parts of Canada into the U.S. and how there would be parts of Canada that would be very, very beneficial. But for Republicans, there are other parts that they look at and go, ooh, that's not going to work out very well because of the type of voters you bring in, type of political structure, some things like that. That Canada is the 51st state may not be the boon to the economic development that we would want it to be, because as far as population, it's about the size of California. But as far as GDP, it would be one of the poorer states in America. So it would be a really weird juxtaposition having to bring that in as a 51st state.
Yeah, but at least it won't catch on fire, Billy. You got to look at the bright side.
Oh, so, Marcus, thank you so much, man. Enjoy the day today. I sure appreciate Marcus's call. 303-696-1971. I have got his predictions with us on the phone, and we're going to go right back to the phones. Jeff Hunt is live with us in Washington, D.C., and now we are going to be talking to Tony in Littleton. Good morning, Tony. Welcome to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. What are your expectations for the Donald Trump term?
Well, I think the first thing, his highest priority, is getting the tax cuts extended, and he's got a bit of a jam here because remember, just in the last month, he wanted them to cancel the debt ceiling, right? I mean, all of a sudden, cancel it, and they didn't do it, right? So now he's up against the debt ceiling, which I think comes up in March. I think that they have to again pass that. Now, the last time these tax cuts that he put through in his first term, they increased the annual debt by $500 billion.
Yeah.
When Obama left office, it was at $500 billion. When the tax cuts were going to put us over $1 trillion, and then it kind of got hidden. Nobody noticed because COVID hit. And so nobody was paying attention. Well, he knows that's a problem. And I think that's why he is really wrapped up around the idea of generating revenue through tariffs. But the problem is, even those tariffs, he's talking about putting it on Canada. Their biggest export to us is oil.
Yeah.
And that's going to cause gas prices to go up. He wants to get the tax cuts through, and Republicans, not MAGA, but Republicans aren't going to be happy about an increase in the debt by $500 billion.
Here's the thing,
so
Tony.
That's going to be his biggest jam.
Here's going to be, for me, the biggest jam that he's going to be stuck in. I think you're right about the tax cut is you're going to have two different sides of the Republican Party. There's going to be one side that is going to want to continue to push for the tax cuts, but knowing they will increase the deficit, and that would be a no-go. But the other side doesn't want to see a tax increase. And if you let them expire, I do believe that MAGA is going to start selling it as it's going to be an increase in taxes on the middle class, despite the fact that when you look at the numbers, it is concentrated to the higher earners and also corporate taxes and what happened there. And that's to be the problem is, do you want on one side, are they going to fight and say, no, we got to make sure we maintain debt limits and lower them, but that's going to mean a tax increase? Or do we fight for the tax cut and then acknowledge that we're going to have a deficit increase? You're not,
Billy,
I don't think you get to both,
I think
man.
You've hit it right on the head. And I think that's why the talk, if you kind of noticed over about the last 3 weeks, they've started talking about adjustments to Social Security and Medicare. And the only way to hide that tax cut is probably to modify Social Security and Medicare to try and offset that. Now, people are going to be screaming. So we're going to give the rich tax cuts, and we're going to hit Social Security. That's going to be a real problem. But you've heard them talking about it, especially Musk. Elon is saying we've got to change Social Security. We've got to change Medicare. Those are the two programs that I think they're going to try and adjust to try and get those tax cuts through. But those tax cuts, we all know the fact is they go to the wealthiest and largest percentage. So that's his biggest issue. That's his biggest priority.
Yeah, that's going to be the problem, Tony, is that last time we saw these tax cuts, and thank you so much for the phone call. I've got you written down on the list. Last time we saw the Donald Trump tax cuts, over 80% of the benefit or the money that was cut went to stock buybacks and dividends. It didn't trickle down, and I'm using that word intentionally, into higher wages. It didn't trickle down into capital improvements. It didn't trickle down into changes in those companies paying more for healthcare and taking the burden. It didn't improve any of that. The vast majority went to stock buybacks and went to dividends. And good for those people. However, we'll have to see. But we got to step aside here. Hey, Francis, and I got another phone caller sitting in line. We are going to get to you, but it's coming up at the end of the 6 o'clock hour, and we only have a small window of time until those in charge wake up. So we're going to be a little frivolous with our news and our fun and our airtime here in just a second. Yeah, we're going to play America's favorite radio news game show. You choose the news in just a couple of minutes. Give us a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971. What are your expectations for the Donald Trump administration? I have got a manila folder in my hand, and we are going to put it into a secret location here in the studio and then crack that sucker open a year from now to see how right all of us are. Well, all right, give us a call. We'll be back just a second. Jeff Hunt is live in Washington, D.C. This is Denver's Talk Leader. We are News Talk 710 KNUS. Leader. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show live on News Talk 710 KNUS. Bill Moore back here in Cold. Well, we have sent Jeff Hunt to Washington, D.C. to give us the sights and sounds. He's already been to 2 of the balls, and he is outside the arena lot right now. How's it going out there, Jeff? How you feeling this morning?
Oh, Billy, it's a festive attitude. I was sitting there ready to jump in because I spent part of last evening with Rand Paul and Art Laffer and Ron Johnson all talking about the budget and tax cuts and revenue and all that stuff. Man, I was ready to jump right in and debate Tony. I'll get Tony next week.
Yeah, we'll get to it next week. Yeah, it's a little bit difficult when you're on that, but we will get to that. And I want to talk to you about that idea of tax cuts when we have some space later on this hour. But It is 6:53 in the morning on a Monday. You know what that means? It is time for everybody's favorite fake radio news game show, what we call You Choose the News. And it's music. We're doing that. It's the machine's not working very well this morning. So we pushed the button. Machine said, no, sorry, I disagree. So we are just going to go solo. We're going a cappella this morning. Blake Olson joins us from the newsroom. You know how we do this. This is everybody's favorite fake radio news game show. I have scoured the interwebs for moments this morning to find really dumb stories about us humans. I've given it headlines so that we can play this fake radio news game. Why? Because again, as we outline, nobody in charge has any idea that we are being this irresponsible with the time that we are allowed on the air. Here we go, gentlemen. Your headlines this morning. Headline number 1, something to remember our time together. Headline number 2, like that Shawshank movie. Headline number 3, well, this sucks. And headline number 4, don't worry your pretty little head. Mr. Hunt, your choice, sir. What is your headline choice?
Yeah, something to remember us by, really?
Something to remember us by. Yes. Now, here's the thing. We know that we have got some of the hostages. We're going to talk to Rory O'Neill about the release of the hostages from Hamas back into Israel that happened just overnight. It is fantastic. And in order to commemorate their time together, Hamas gladly gave gift bags to the departing hostages. Yes, they gave them small little gift bags saying, here, remember the time that we spent together. Yes, just like you do when you go to one of those famous award shows. Inside these bags contain gifts and souvenirs, including a map of the Gaza Strip. You can go back in later and color where exactly we're held hostage. Photographs of them in Hamas captivity, because that's something you want to remember. And, of course, a certificate of the time you spent with Hamas. Wow. I know. What the hell is that about? Yeah, thank you for being our hostage. Here, have this as a commemorative parting gift. It's at least they didn't get like a full year supply of turtle wax or something like on most game shows. Yeah. Still, I know. Can you imagine that? Who had to put together the gift bags? Ooh, you know what we can do for the hostages? Gift bags. They'll forgive us for that. But again, as Jeff told us when he was out hanging out with the Palestinians during the other protest, the protesters, they said, well, they think that many of the hostages thank their captors afterwards because they were treated so well. Sure. You like that one? Pull the other one and plays Jingle Bells. Alrighty. Okay, Blake Olson, your choices, sir. Like that Shawshank movie? Well, this sucks, or don't worry your pretty little head.
Man, like that Shawshank movie.
Yeah, just like that Shawshank movie. You know, sometimes in Shawshank, you saw that some of the older prisoners just wanted to get back into prison because life was easier. Well, that's what's happening to people that are 60 plus years old in Japan. Because oftentimes they are ostracized by their family or been abandoned or just have no possibility of being able to care for themselves. They are committing petty crimes so that they can go to prison. Recently, a 65-year-old woman said, yes, she went back in after getting out of prison for 2 months. She went back in and shoplifted about $40 worth of stuff simply so she could go back to prison.
Interesting.
Yes, her son doesn't want to have anything to do with her, and she says, I don't have a way to care for myself, and I've got some medical conditions that if I'm in prison, they're paid for automatically. Not if I'm out so normal. Sad. Yeah. And finally, I'm just going to do a well, this sucks. Progresso is launching Soup Drops. It's a hard candy soup that you can suck on just in time for the winter. You can order it online, progressosoupdrops.com. Well, that sucks. Hey, Jeff, Blake, thank you for playing along with me. We got to step aside. What are your expectations for the Donald Trump administration? This is Denver's Talk Leader. We are News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning. This is News Talk 710 KNUS. You are listening to Jeff and Bill Live. I'm Bill Thorpe back here in the studio where it's so very cold. Jeff Hunt is reporting live from Washington, D.C. Joining us right now. Good morning, Jeff. How is D.C. treating you so far?
Well, it's a little chilly here, but we are standing outside of the Capital One Theater or arena with, it's got to be tens of thousands of people stretched out further than I can see. MAGA hats everybody in high spirits, excited, trying to get in. This is the opportunity to see Donald Trump live today for the average Joe out there. You don't have to be a major donor or member of Congress to see him. You just got to get here. Now, Billy, I'm standing right near where the earliest people got here last night, okay?
Okay, yeah.
And I can see sleeping bags on the ground, tents. They slept out overnight. It was kind of wild here, but this is a festive atmosphere as people believe, and I agree with them, that this is the dawn of a new golden era for America.
Now, that's an interesting choice if you're a Donald Trump supporter. You want to be there in the arena, but the one thing you don't have to is take a shower. Just say it's an odd choice. It's an odd choice. I'm not saying I haven't been there and then slept out for concerts and stuff. I get it. I've been there. I've done that before. So I'm just like, wow, that is incredible. I can't wait to hear more, Jeff, about who you've talked to with things out there. But first, I want to give Francis a chance to join us live on the air, Jeff and Bill show. Good morning, Francis. You're here with Bill Thorpe in the studio. Jeff Hunt back in D.C. What are your expectations for the next Trump administration, our friend?
My expectation is that it will be a great reset, but I think you have to temper your expectations a little bit. I think if you can if you get rid of 1 million people, half of which I believe are already under deportation orders, you're probably doing pretty well for a year. And because I think it's just logistically really, really hard.
Yeah.
I think that if they have a meaningful dialogue started about Social Security and Medicare, that would be wonderful, because those things have to be reformed. And as far as a tax cut is concerned, I am concerned that you're going to get the same reaction that happened with the last tax cut. Is that you're right, Billy? The money just contracted back in. There wasn't anything that trickled down to anybody, and I don't see anything economically. As an economic environment that would change that. It's going to be the same thing.
Now, here's the thing, Francis. And, we're a little tight on time here, and we're going to let Jeff. After not right now, we're going to talk to you. We got a couple more minutes with you, but I want to let you know, Francis, that after I let you go, we've got Joe from Arvada coming up. But also later on this hour, Jeff is going to talk to us. He was at the Turning Point ball last night, and actually has gone to some breakout sessions with Art Laffer and some other people that think your opinion about the tax cuts and my opinion about the tax cuts are completely and totally wrong. But we're going to address that later on. What are the other expectations that you see for, or you want to see for Trump, and how do you judge him as a success?
The other stuff, I'm very concerned about this president by edict and the Congress not doing anything. I don't think you can continue to just run a country by doing executive orders. And I think, both sides have been guilty of this. I'd like to see Congress at Trump's direction grow some, and actually do their job. I mean, that's really something that I'm concerned about. I'd like to see Trump suggests legislation that actually gets legs and Congress picks up and does. I'm tired of this executive order stuff because Congress can't do its own job.
Yeah. Francis, here's the thing, man. You have to understand that most of the House of Representatives, they work 3 days a week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
And so how much are we really looking to get out of them as far as the work product? If their work day is 3 days a week, they've got a better gig than George Jetson. He was doing 4, and we thought it was great.
They do.
They got 3, and they're getting paid for it, man. I don't know.
It's aggravating. It's aggravating. I'd like to see the congressional members spend less time trying to get likes on social media, trying to get their face on screens. I'd like to just see them actually do something. Just please do something. And, I don't know. That bugs the heck out of me. And I don't want to see them campaigning in an indefinite money-raising mode, from the very beginning. If they win an election, they turn right around and have to start fundraising again.
Yeah, it's not the way. I appreciate it. Hey, Francis, thanks for the phone call, man. We do have you written down on the list here. Stay warm today. And yeah, when your number one job once you get elected to Congress is to then get reelected to Congress, might have a little bit of a problem. But Jeff, we're going to give you a chance to come back and tell us why both my opinion, Francis's opinion, and Tony's opinion about the renewing Donald Trump's tax cuts are going to be wrong after we chat with Joe from Arvada. But first, we do have some things coming up. Rory O'Neill, NBC News National Correspondent, joining us to talk about the release of the hostages here in a second. But first, Blake Olson, news and commentary. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Billy. 2 below and cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of looks like 10 degrees today. It's going to be a beautiful one outside Denver and up and down the Front Range. Our top story.
I will end the war in Ukraine. I will stop the chaos in the Middle East, and I will prevent World War III from happening.
DJT will use a Bible from his mother as well as a Lincoln Bible for his swearing in today. His late mother gave him the Bible in 1955 for his primary school graduation, signed by church officials and inscribed with Trump's name. The Lincoln Bible was first used at President Lincoln's swearing in 1861 and has been used 3 times since during former President Obama's 2 inaugurations and Trump's first one. 47 will be sworn in at about 9:45 Denver time this morning in D.C.
At noon, the curtain closes on 4 long years of American decline, and we begin a brand new day of American strength and prosperity, dignity and pride. Bringing it all back. Once and for all, we're going to end the reign of a failed and corrupt political establishment in Washington, a failed administration. We're not going to take it anymore.
President Biden is issuing preemptive pardons for General Mark Milley, Dr. Anthony Fauci, and members of the January 6th Congressional Committee, including Dizzy Lizzie Cheney. The move announced this morning aims to protect them from going to jail. Let's face it, that's where they belong. TikTok makes a comeback in the United States. The app was dark for about 16 hours from Saturday evening to Sunday morning. When users reopened the app, a message popped up thanking them for their patience and praising DJT for getting the app back online. In a statement, the company said Trump assured the leadership that it would face no penalties for continuing to provide Americans access to the app. The first hostages released by Hamas are said to be in good health. The 3 women were freed from captivity as a part of a ceasefire deal with Israel. Under the terms of the agreement, the first phase will involve the release of 33 hostages in exchange for 1,900 Palestinian prisoners. At least 2 Americans are among the hostages expected to be released in the coming days. And if you missed this over the weekend, House Speaker Mike Johnson tells the story of talking to Biden a year ago.
Sir, why did you pause LNG exports to Europe? Like, I don't understand. Liquefied natural gas is in great demand by our allies. Why would you do that? Because you understand, we just talked about Ukraine. You understand you're fueling Vladimir Putin's war machine because they got to get their gas from him, And he looks at me stunned with this, and he said, I didn't do that. And I said, Mr. President, yes, you did. It was an executive order 3 weeks ago. And he goes, no, I didn't do that. And he's arguing with me. I said, Mr. President, respectfully, could I go out here and ask your secretary to print it out? We'll read it together. You definitely did that. And he goes, oh, you talk about natural gas. Yes, sir. He said, no, you misunderstand. He said, what I did is I signed this thing we're gonna conduct a study on the effects of LNG. I said, no, you're not, sir. You paused it. I know. I have the export terminals in my state. I talked to those people this morning. This is doing massive damage to our economy, national security. It occurred to me, Barry, he was not lying to me. He genuinely did not know what he had signed. And I walked out of that meeting with fear and loathing because I thought, we're in serious trouble. Who is running the country? I don't know who put the paper in front of him, but he didn't know.
Why don't you just check yourself into the old fool's home while I still have a bed left?
That all ends in a couple of hours in D.C. College football national championship tonight. Notre Dame, Ohio State Bills hold off the Ravens in the AFC playoffs. They take on the Chiefs next week, and the Eagles beat the Rams. They face the Commanders from D.C. in the NFC. It is 1 below in Littleton, 3 below in North Glen, 2 below in Denver, and let's see, it is Monday, Inauguration Day, also MLK Day, and let's see, Jeff and Billy. Jeff is in D.C., Billy's in the studio, and we continue.
Old white guys, good old white guys, young white guys.
Yes, Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
A cold weather advisory remains in effect until 9 a.m. Tuesday. Good morning, Denver. We're going to have some morning clouds and maybe some remnant snow showers as our final Arctic front passes through. High temps today will struggle to get to 10 above. Lows early tonight will be around 0, but then temps will start to rise as a milder air mass streams in. That's going to bring much warmer temps for tomorrow with some breezy winds, partly sunny and highs in the upper 30s. Lows Tuesday night not nearly as cold, low 20s and breezy. Meteorologist Don Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Is America just about to get lucky? Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We are broadcasting live from both Denver and Washington, D.C. I'm Bill Thorpe. Here in the studio, Jeff Hunt is reporting live outside the arena where Donald J. Trump will hold another fantastic rally later on tonight, or today. He held one yesterday. Jeff has been to a couple of the balls already. We do have Joe from Arvada on the phone, but I got 2 minutes until we get to Rory O'Neill. Joe from Arvada, on the day in which Trump is inaugurated, deserves more time on the Jeff and Bill Show than just 2 minutes. I'm not going to do him like that. So, Joe, hang with me, man. We will bring you back. But, Jeff, talk to us about who you've seen out there. What's it like from, the average person, the people you're seeing at the cabs, the people that are checking into the hotels, the people behind the counters, the people at the restaurants? What's the feeling like from the average work-a-day, Joe and Sarah, there in D.C.?
That's exactly right. Billy, the guy that picked us up from the airport, Pakistani from the Kashmir part of the country, and he said that he and his entire family, about 40 or 50, voted for Joe Biden in 2020, all voted for Donald Trump in 2024. Wow. This election, at the end of the day, was an economic decision.
Wow.
People were frustrated with inflation. They were frustrated with the debt. They were frustrated with not being able to make ends meet, the cost of eggs, the cost of milk. This was an economic decision for most voters, and they're just ready to turn things around. To Blake's point right there, who's running the country? Who's in charge? It just feels like we're spinning out of control, and people are ready for the dawn of a new America. So that was definitely the sense here. Now, I'm standing right outside of the Capital One Arena. People are full of energy and excitement. Sir, where are you from? Ohio. You're from Ohio. Yeah. Great. So we got folks from Ohio. Where are you all from? Nashville, Tennessee. How about you? Where are you? Miami. So you just heard Ohio, Nashville, and Miami. Oh, no, I think. Where
That's
are you
amazing.
From? Texas? Yep. How about you all? Where are y'all from?
Arkansas.
Arkansas. I literally a different state every single time. How about you all? Where are you from? Florida. So yeah, lots of folks. Now you got the overalls on. Where are you from?
Virginia.
From Virginia. Now why are you out here? Where are you guys from?
Texas.
Yeah. Why did you all decide to come out and see Donald Trump? They're full of good spirits. The challenge is the line's moving quickly to get them all in here. So you get about one word out of them, and then they move on to get inside. But people are, we got Team Trump cowboy hats. We got people dressed to the nines, and then you got people trying to stay warm and wear down jackets like I am. So yeah, a lot of fun out here, Billy.
Oh, that's fantastic. So what has been the best, me, I like the political cosplay. Yeah. What's been the best merch, best Trump item you've seen with someone standing in a line so far this morning? What's the thing that's really stood out?
Yeah. So they got these big gold chain necklaces with DJT and a MAGA hat on, and they're selling them out here. I'm gonna see if I can get you one before I leave here, Billy. I think you would love to wear that around the office.
Oh yes, I think so. Just for those special moments that we can share. Now, Jeff, we're gonna step just for a second here, and we're gonna talk to Rory O'Neill, who is joining us live on the Jeff and Bill Show. Rory, we talked to you last hour about the inauguration, but this hour we're gonna take more of a serious turn towards the ceasefire between Gaza and Israel, and also the release of the hostages. Rory O'Neill, NBC News National Correspondent, joining Jeff Hunt, Bill Thorpe live on the air right now. Jeff's in D.C. I'm back here at the studios in Denver. Good morning, Rory. How are you?
I'm doing well. And yeah, we saw a lot of progress with this ceasefire, but it really was or is a process. This phase one is supposed to be 6 weeks long and slowly releasing hostages in exchange for prisoners held by Israel. We got 3 of the hostages, 3 women released yesterday. But, this is going to be a long, complicated process, and there are a lot of opportunities for it not to be successful.
Yeah, and what is the feeling from your reporting so far about the willingness for Hamas to abide by the ceasefire? I can see Israel, wanting to get the hostages back. They're not too happy about giving away the prisoners. But I do think that Hamas is a wild card, specifically because their command and control structure has been decimated. So someone could get a hair and just decide. Also, they're still really, really angry. What is the feeling about Hamas honoring the ceasefire?
Yeah, well, that's the bigger concern as well, right? Is that it only takes a couple of members of the organization to really turn this whole thing upside down. We are seeing some Israeli military warning of some significant operations in the occupied West Bank that are happening right now. So there are a lot of ways that this could fall apart. So it's going to have to take a lot on both sides, a lot of flexibility. This is not going to be a tight seal. There's going to be some wiggling here. But it's going to take a lot of forgiving on both sides in order to let this move forward if you want to have the larger peace deal in 6 weeks.
Now, Rory O'Neill, NBC News National Correspondent, we had reported last hour at the tail end of when we do some silly stuff here on the show, the fact that as a parting gift for the hostages, Hamas gave the Israeli women gift bags, giving them like a map of Gaza and pictures of their time in captivity. What the hell? Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, we know that each of them was given a bag. A necklace was in it as well. The women say that the Israeli security forces took the bags from them, so they didn't have them very long, but they are supposed to include some photos and a necklace and a map. So we don't know too much about it, what the intention was, or more specific details about those items.
Again, Roy, I know you got other things to do and cut you loose, but imagine that being in that meeting with Hamas, you're like, okay, we're going to release the hostages. What can we do? Oh, I have an idea. Let's give them gift bags so that they feel, nice going away. Who comes up with the ideas? And imagine the people that were in charge of putting those together. It's just, oh my Lord.
Right, a swag bag.
Yes, a swag bag. Oh my gosh. Hey, Rory O'Neill, NBC News National Correspondent. Thanks for the help twice today, my friend. You've been more than generous with your time. Have a great day and stay warm.
All right, talk to you soon. Thanks.
Take care. All right, this is the Jeff and Bill Show. You're listening to News Talk 710 KNUS. That was Rory O'Neill, NBC News National Correspondent, talking about the Israeli hostages. Jeff is reporting live from outside the arena where Donald J. Trump is going to appear later today. Yes, he traveled to D.C. They kept me here. They don't want me in the MAGA crowd, which is probably smart and safe for me as well. But Jeff, here we go. We've been waiting for this one. Everybody, deep breath. It is time. This is the man who who doesn't need an introduction. He absolutely deserves it. Doesn't need an introduction on this show, but he does need as much space and time as possible to just be as happy and joyful. Joe from Arvada! He is on Jeff and Bill this morning. Congratulations, sir. This is going to be like your Christmas, your birthday, your Hanukkah, your Kwanzaa, all wrapped up into one. How are you feeling this morning, my friend?
Wunderbar.
Excellent. It is so nice to hear your voice.
It's awesome. Hi, Billy. Hi, Jeff. Man, not as good as Jeff right there.
I know.
You're right at home plate. That's awesome.
Yeah, so Joe, what are your expectations, my man? How are you going to judge success? And I am going to be writing them down. I've got my piece of paper here.
Oh, okay.
I've got the manila envelope that we're going to hide here in the studio. And so we're going to go and revisit this later. Joe from Arvada, what are your expectations and how are you going to judge success from the second Trump administration?
When I was 16, I was an optimist. Now that I'm 60, I am a pragmatist. When I was 16, Ronald Reagan took office. And the first 2 years of the Ronald Reagan economy were some of the two worst years in American history. And 1980 and 81, even 1982 was rough. But the ship was turning, and we all knew it. The ship was turning. Ronaldus Magnus cut taxes. And let me just jump in with the tax argument and just tell you in 30 seconds, I can convince any conservative or moderate that cutting taxes is the right move and increases revenue. And here's how. First of all, everybody knows when you collect zero taxes, you get nothing, right? When you increase taxes to 100%, Billy, how much money do you get when you increase taxes to 100%?
You would have zero taxes according to the Art Laffer curve.
No, what I'm saying is you would get zero money from increasing taxes to 100%.
Yeah.
Because nobody's going to work for 100% tax. We all know that. Now,
in theory, if it was zero taxes, we'd have income tax money. Yeah, go ahead.
Just a minute. I'm going to let you take the floor in just a second. But let's say you have 50% tax, and you're an American citizen. You're working for half the time for the government. Now, I'm not saying the federal government. It could be combined, but just half the time for the government. So that if they're taking half of your cheese and you're getting half of it, if they give you an opportunity to if they only take a quarter of your cheese and you get 75%, Billy, are you going to work harder and more and try to make more money when you're getting 75% of your cheese, or are you going to work harder when you're getting 50% of your cheese?
Depends on what the bottom line number is. Yeah, and the reason, and this is why.
Liberal answer.
Here's the reason why I think it depends, Joe, is if we're making $50,000 a year, I think that's a stronger argument than if I am making $50 million a year.
Because that is just a typical liberal answer.
No, Joe, it's not.
Everybody knows the answer is that if they take 50% of your cheese and they reduce it to 25% of your cheese, you're going to try to make more money because you're getting 75% of your jack.
But actually,
Forget
Joe, hang on. Wait, Joe.
Forget the billions. Forget the millions.
But there is a truism. There is a truism inside of economics that the utilitarian value of a dollar is decreased the more dollars you have. And what that means is someone that is making $1 million a year, if you give them an extra $10,000 a year, that utilitarian dollar for dollar increase is not as significant to the same percentage of increase of someone making $50,000 a year. Their dollars go further. The utilitarian value of the dollar diminishes the more money you pull in. So that's not always necessarily true.
Billy, I don't know what you make, but let's say you make $200,000 a year total.
Yeah.
And I take half of it, $100,000. But then, and I offer you another job where you make $200,000 a year, but I only take $50,000 of it. Billy, question: which job money would you prefer?
Oh, I'd take the one with more
please.
at that level. No, I'm being honest with you, Joe. But the issue being, if you're making $50 million a year, and the same thing is true, there's not necessarily that much impact on your average ability to provide for yourself, your average ability in order to provide for your family, or even invest. It's a different set of numbers and values if you raise that up there. And that's why you normally have a progressive tax system, is because the penalty higher up isn't necessarily felt as well.
Liberal parsing.
Oh, no, it's not a parsing. I was being honest with you. I said at the lower ends, you're absolutely right, man. You're absolutely right.
I'm sorry, but that is just a typical liberal answer.
Well, that's fine. Let's go back to what your expectations are. What do you think, man? So if we go back a year from now, what will Donald Trump has accomplished?
The first 2 years, being a pragmatist,
yeah, absolutely.
That the first 2 years will be two of the worst financial years of our entire lives because of this reason. The United States has been crushed by idiots like Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, Governor Polis for the last 50 years. To come out, we're going to have to do a complete reverse head infarction. We must change everything. And for 2 years, we're going to get medicine. We're going to have a housing collapse like you ain't never seen. The dollar is going to be in difficulty. Digital issues, there's so many problems. But the new Ronaldus Magnus, Donald J. Trump, is turning this mighty ship around. And in 2027, we're going to experience massive recovery.
Huh. Now, how does that square with the idea of your entire tax premise earlier on? That if the tax cuts, and I believe that Donald Trump's going to not only try to, continue his current tax cuts, but try to increase them as well. Wouldn't that provide economic stimulus? But you said that the first 2 years are going to be negative. Even if we continue the Donald Trump tax cuts, shouldn't that be an economic benefit?
Cutting the taxes isn't cutting the taxes. It's just extending the Trump tax cuts. That's all it is, Billy. It's not doing anything new. It's just continuing to extend the tax cuts. Now, cutting the size of the federal government, on the other hand, is going to generate revenue. It is, because you're not going to have any ham-fisted Elizabeth Warrens stealing your check, stealing your business, screwing you down to the ground so you can't make any money.
Okay, now, if you say cut the size of the federal government, what are you looking for? Are you looking for a reduction in money being spent by the federal government? Are you looking at a reduction in employees? Or are you looking at both? And I'm just curious, what would you ballpark for both of them? What number are you looking for as far as a reduction in employees? And what number would you be looking for as far as a reduction in spending and or deficit? What's your goals?
Eventually, by the time that Donald Trump leaves, I hope it's at least half the size of the federal government. Half.
Wow.
I'm good with half.
Okay, so half of employees and half of spending?
No, half of the federal government being reduced.
Yeah, but I'm asking,
in other words,
let me give you an example. People or money? Are we talking budget or are we talking money?
The education department, goodbye.
Okay.
There will be one person in the education department, the education secretary, and her job will be to fire everybody.
Okay. Okay, but I want to go back to the money. When you're talking about half, are you talking about cutting the federal budget by half? Or are you talking about federal employees being cut by half? Or are you saying both are going to be cut by half? I'm just looking. I don't know what to write down.
The federal budget includes things like the military spending, and that's not going to happen. The money is a powerful force to be used for good, investment, building, all kinds of things. But the people that are sitting there doing nothing in the federal government, nothing. The federal government stay at home, nothing doers. They're doing nothing. They need to be fired.
All right. I think they've got a way to go with that one, Joe. I appreciate the phone call. That was really wonderful. That was Joe from Arvada. Had to give him his time. He has been a solid Donald Trump supporter. He and I have gone round and round and round. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show. This is News Talk 710 KNUS. Bill Thorpe back here in the studio. Yeah. Jeff Hunt is with us live in Washington, D.C. Joe from Arvada wants to see a 50% cut in the size of the federal government based on employees. He also wants to say bye-bye to the Department of Education. Donald Trump just nominated, I believe it was Peggy Schwinn for a Department of Education chair. He says that's the woman that's in charge that's going to be firing everybody. Jeff's looking for immigration reform. Rory O'Neill is looking for immigration and inflation changes. Marcus called in. He wants to see a wall. He wants to see deportations. He wants to see this drill for energy. Tony, our liberal from Littleton, he wants to see the tax. He thinks the tax cuts will be extended, and he will see also, he thinks he's predicting a deficit increase. I've got a bunch of other people. Reset for America coming from Francis. What are your expectations? What are your ways you're going to judge Donald Trump on success? Give us a text or give us a call right here at the station, 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971. We are going to step away for just a second. We'll get back to both your phone calls and your text messages, and we'll check in with Jeff Hunt, and he'll tell us why, hey, extending these tax cuts is actually going to be great for your bottom line. This is Jeff and Bill, broadcasting live on Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS. sounds so official. So weird. They shouldn't be playing anything like this behind me ever. If they ever play something like this, they're marching me to the gallows. This is the Jeff and Bill Show. You're listening live to Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS. Jeff Hunt is there in D.C., giving us the sights and sounds. You heard him just a minute ago talking to people in line, people from like Nashville, from Texas, from all over the place, Ohio, making the journey triumphantly back into D.C. on this frigid morning in order to welcome Donald J. Trump back into power. Jeff's been there all weekend. He's been hitting the celebrations, and now we are joined by the man that I say is the smartest politician in all of Colorado. It is none other than former Congressman, Congressional District 4, Greg Lopez. Good morning, Congressman Lopez. How are you, sir?
Good morning. I'm doing great, Billy. Good to see you and be on your show, I should say.
Thank you, man. Now, how long have you been in? Did you come back home at all? Have you been in D.C. all weekend? What's it been like?
Yeah, I've been, I got here on Friday, Friday afternoon. So been doing a lot like Jeff, caught up with a lot of my former colleagues here on the Hill. Went to a couple of galas, went to different events. And I can tell you the energy and the excitement is really building up to today. I think it's going to be a beautiful day for America when President Trump takes the oath of office. And then, it's like they say, right? It's sunshine in America again.
Now, I'm going to ask you about your expectations and how you're going to judge success for Donald Trump in the first administration, the first couple of years, because we have got a manila envelope that we stole from the sales department across the hall, and we're going to hide it here in the studio and then open it like a time capsule. 1 year into the Trump administration, then 2 years to see how well all of us have been doing. But first, most importantly, I want to know how you are feeling, because I think, again, smartest politician in Colorado, you're back there in D.C. seeing all your former colleagues, but you know that starting tomorrow, you don't have to go to work. They do. They've got to make all of these big promises and grandiose schemes happen. They've got to do that. How does it feel being there without all of the stress of knowing you've got to worry about those votes? You've got to worry about, issues about speaker. And what's that feeling like to be there now as partial observer, but also partial former colleague?
Yeah, you know what? It's a very unique feeling because I want to be with them spiritually, right? I want to be there on the field, cheering them on. And I understand some of the plays, some of the challenges that each one of us is going to have to face with the pressures and those types of things. So it's a really a feeling that, part of me says I wish I was on the field with them. Others are like, I'm in the stands, which is fine by me. But I do get a sense it's kind of like knowing the playbook and you're watching it from the stands and you see it teed up and you know that, if things fall correctly, things will move effectively through the process. And so I think at the end of the day, they're going to struggle a little bit, but they're going to be able to score that touchdown and cross the goal line, but it's not going to be as quickly and as fast as a lot of people would like to see it happen.
Oh, yeah, I like that. Greg Lopez, former Congressman, CD4, joining Jeff and Bill live. Talk to us about that playbook. If you're looking there and you're in the stands, what are your expectations for the first year, the first 2 years, the Trump administration? Looking back in 12 and 24 months, how are we going to judge success? What do you feel Trump's going to be able to accomplish?
Look, I think the first thing that President Trump is going to accomplish is he's going to do what he can do very effectively, and that is amend some of the executive orders, rescind some of the executive orders, and send a strong message to everyone that the border is a top priority and that we're going to focus on that. We'll see what happens with the reconciliation. There's a process that Congress has to go through with the budget process and reconciliation, and that's where you'll see a lot of the plays that they're looking to run in the first half of the year. And I think that's going to happen. The DOGE committee, the Department of Government Efficiency, I think you'll see that they're going to start coming out with certain areas as to where they want to start cutting some of the waste. The first thing they're going to do is make sure that every federal employee actually reports physically into the office buildings, to try to take head count and trying to figure out how efficient the bureaucracy is actually working. So I think you're going to see a lot of good stuff in the first 90 days, first 100 days, once he gets his cabinet confirmed. you'll be seeing a lot of those cabinet members taking the initiative to start implementing his agenda.
Now, Greg, if you had to ballpark, looking at 12 months, 48 months, 24 months in, how many people do you think that Donald Trump's mass deportation program is going to round up and send home? Just ballpark it for me. What do you think the number is going to be?
I think the number in the first 12 to 18 months is probably going to be close to 250,000 people, maybe 500,000. There's a lot of people that are already on the list, that we're having detention. And I think there's going to be a lot of self-deportation. I think you'll find that some people are going to say, you know what, I'm not finding the job that I wanted, or I got lied to. I'm going to go back to my homeland because it's not everything that I thought it was going to be. And now I'm feeling that, the nation or the country is not ready for so many. I think it's going to be 250,000 to 500,000 that you'll see probably in the first year.
And I'm already seeing stories out there about those self-deportations in a larger number than I thought was going to happen. So I think you may have something there. And there's something that I think was very insightful that you said, Greg Lopez, former Congressman, CD4, joining Jeff and Bill live out there in Washington, D.C. with my man, Jeff Hunt, who's on the line with us as well. You were talking about DOGE and the recommendations on efficiency of government. I think that is incredibly insightful because when I look at DOGE, the focus is on the number of dollars they're going to cut from the budget. And I think that is going to be a bear trap for them. I think that's a problem. I think focusing on efficiency is where they can find success. I'm worried they haven't sold it as DOGE coming in to find success based on government efficiency and changing the bureaucracy. Because everybody that I see Trump and Vivek putting around them are all people that inside of business are efficiency experts. These are people that are really good at breaking down the bureaucracy. And if they would sell DOGE that way, I think you could actually look at this as a larger win. I'm worried that since they've sold it as, hey, we're going to cut $2 trillion, that if they don't get to that $2 trillion number, it's going to be a failure. Do you think DOGE will be a success if they're only able to, Greg Lopez, work on the efficiency of the bureaucracy?
I think they will. Look, and I think they will be able to find some cuts in the overall budget. $2 trillion is a huge number. So I support what you're saying. $2 trillion is a number that sounds good, but it's a large number to try to cut in any given year, in any 2 years. I think that what you'll find is that the efficiency and the morale within the federal bureaucracy is going to improve. And you'll see that Congress is probably not going to continue to refund certain programs that have been expired. And my hope is that the legislative branch, Congress, will actually pass a budget, that in 2025, they will pass a budget and they will not be dealing with a continued resolution come September any more than they have to as it pertains to ever again. I know if I was to, that would be my goal, is let's just pass a budget like the people want us to do. Let's do accountability over the taxpayers' dollars, and let's get rid of these programs that we're spending close to $516 billion a year on programs that no longer have the authorization to exist.
Oh, I like that one. We're going to put a pin on that one. Pass a budget. I love that. Former Congressman Greg Lopez, again, smartest man in Colorado politics, joining Jeff and Bill Live. Thank you so much for your time, Representative Lopez. Stay warm today, and we'll check in with you later on. Thank you for the time.
Sounds
Appreciate
great.
it, man.
You betcha.
Oh, that's
Take
fantastic.
care.
Take care. Bye-bye. All right. Now, Jeff Hunt, joining me live there at Washington, D.C. What do you think about Greg Lopez, the idea of passing a budget? Do you think the Republican Congress is going to be able to pass a budget in the next 2 years?
I sure hope so, because right now, if they don't, we're continuing to fund Nancy Pelosi's budget.
Yes.
Like, seriously, dude, why are we even electing you if you can't change that? Like, that should be the only thing you do. Pass the tax cuts, get a budget, at least debate all this stuff. But, Billy, to your point, last night, Ron Johnson and Rand Paul brought this up. If you take military spending, Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security off the table, like if you don't cut those, you're dealing with only 16% of the federal budget.
Yeah, it's nothing. You got nothing.
Like you have to deal with those big entitlements. And gosh, If Republicans can't get a budget, what are we even doing? Why are we even here?
I love the fact that you brought up the idea that they're still running Nancy Pelosi's budget. And that's something that Congresswoman Lauren Boebert pointed out right here on our airwaves, going, she was infuriated that they were still running Nancy Pelosi's budget. And you're absolutely right that while the Republicans have controlled Congress, they haven't managed to do anything other than just continue Nancy Pelosi's budget. Oh, now we're going to talk in a second whether or not, instead of cutting the taxes and cutting government spending, instead should they increase revenue? Would that help?
Yeah.
Oh, we'll have to see what happens. Jeff Hunt reporting live from Washington, D.C. We're going to step aside here. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971. You're listening to Jeff and Bill. What are your expectations for the Donald Trump administration? How are we going to judge success? I have got a gorgeous manila envelope here in my hands right now that I stole from a sales department across the hall. We are going to bury it in the studio right here in a hidden location and then crack it open like a time capsule a year from now. I have got suggestions from Francis. I've got suggestions from Marcus, Tony, Blake Olson, Jeff Hunt, Rory O'Neill. You heard Greg Lopez's prediction. Joe from Arvada, also from 8875-7947, and a bunch of others. Ziggy chiming in, Doug chiming in as well. So we're going to write them down. We're going to put them in an envelope. What are your expectations? How are you going to judge success? We'll be back right after this. We are Denver's talk leader. This is News Talk 710 KNUS. That music is way too official. You're listening to Jeff and Bill. We are broadcasting live from both Denver and Washington, D.C. Bill Thorpe here in the studio. Jeff Hunt broadcasting live from the crowd outside the arena where Donald J. Trump is going to make his triumphant return to Washington, D.C. later on. Hello, my friend Jeff. How are you?
Yeah, so Billy, I'm with Seth here. Seth's with Created Equal.
Okay.
They hold up the big posters about abortion and what the horrors of abortion do to people. I'm going to ask Seth what he thinks of Donald Trump, and is he going to see a commitment to the sanctity of life out of Donald Trump? What do you think, Seth?
Hey, so great to have me. Thanks for letting me be here today. So we are here outside where supporters are going in to watch the live streaming of the swearing in, right? It's a big day, historic day. But so what Trump did his first term, he achieved a lot for our movement. There's no question about that, right? Supreme Court justices turning over Roe v. Wade, critical moments. But now we're asking what will happen next. We're calling on President Trump to remember the real victims of abortion. Abortion is leaving a stain throughout our country, affecting us in many ways. But the real victims are the preborn people, either starved or suffocated or decapitated, dismembered, disemboweled by abortion. We're calling him to remember them. That's why we have the pictures here showing people what abortion does.
Yeah, so in the first administration, you had Mike Pence, you had the Supreme Court victory, Dobbs, all that. But it seems like he's taken a step back. Does that concern you at all?
Certainly, yes. I mean, there's no question between the options of possible President Harris and President Trump-elect President Trump, right? There's no question. Yeah. President Harris would have all pro-lifers in jail. President Trump will at least let us do our work. But we're calling on him to do more than that. Yeah. Yes, we're troubled by the rhetoric that's changing. We must remember what abortion is and does. It must be banned.
Right. Hey, Billy, I know you've got to go up against the break.
Yeah, we got a hard break here.
Back to you.
Hey, I appreciate that, Jeff. So there's Seth. Seth is looking for an increase in the pro-life legislation. Do you agree? I want to hear what your expectations are. How do you judge Donald Trump as a success in his first 2 years? This is Denver's Talk Leader. We're News Talk 710 KNUS. Yeah, nobody should be allowed to have pineapple on pizza. Do you think we can get that? We want to follow executive orders. And Pineapple on pizza? Well, I know my colleague Jeff Hunt wouldn't be happy about that one. You're listening to Jeff and Bill Live. This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm Bill Thorpe, flying solo here in the studio because Jeff has made the journey of a lifetime out to Washington, D.C. He has been doing the balls. He's been getting the sights and sound. He is hanging out right in front of the arena as we speak, as Donald J. Trump is getting ready to be inaugurated and return triumphantly to the White House. Whether or not you agree or disagree with Trump, this is a historic day, my friend. How are you feeling?
Hey, Billy, we've got some Coloradans here. Hey, what's your first name?
I'm Blake.
Blake and
Josh.
Josh, and what, you guys are from northern Denver or northern Colorado?
Greeley.
From Greeley. We love the smell of Greeley. That's the smell of money up there.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What brings you guys out here?
Trump.
For Trump. And, I mean, how long have you been standing in the cold?
All morning.
All morning out here. Yeah? Have you ever seen him live before?
In Colorado.
Yeah, in Colorado, you saw him. Did you go to the Aurora rally?
We actually went to the rallies back in 2017.
Okay.
2016.
Wow.
Nice. Awesome. Well, I know you guys got to keep moving. Thanks for saying hi. Thanks for being out here.
Hey, Jeff, what are their expectations? What do Blake and Josh want to see? What are their expectations for that first year of Trump? We check in with them a year from now.
I lost the lines moving.
That's okay.
So I can only get real quick before they move on up.
That's okay.
But,
Go right ahead. Yeah. Who else do you have near you?
I might get them. I might get them when they come back
Oh,
here.
that's fine,
but
my friend.
boy, I mean, it is a lot of energy and a lot of excitement. Let me see.
And what are people talking about? What are the conversations?
From Brooklyn. From Brooklyn, New York?
Yeah, why?
Oh, great. We're just learning where people are from. Where are you all from? Where are you from? You're from Brooklyn as well. They got a family from Brooklyn
that's
here.
amazing.
Okay. Where are you all from?
Miami.
Y'all a big Brooklyn family. Wow. There's like 20 of them all here. So I'm up right by the entrance of the Capital One Center. This is where everyone's going to go through Secret Service level screening to go in and see Donald Trump after he does his inauguration. So because of the cold, and boy, is it chilly out here, they moved everything inside of the rotunda up on Capitol Hill. This is similar to what Ronald Reagan did in 1985. And then once he does the swearing in a few hours, he's going to travel down here to the Capital One Center. Capital One Center is where the Wizards play hockey. It's a big arena. It holds about 20,000 people. And then they have this huge line that goes blocks and blocks and blocks. It took me 45 minutes to walk it this morning. That was hours ago. It's now longer. People are winding around, similar to Billy, what we saw at Aurora.
Yeah.
So they're making their time or making their way to get in. But a lot of good spirits. Now, Billy, I saw a sweatshirt.
Yes.
And this is the perfect sweatshirt for you, okay?
Oh, yeah,
Donald
please.
Trump, he's standing in front of the White House, and it just purely says, Daddy's home.
there's part of me that wants that sweatshirt because that's hilarious. There's so many layers inside of that. That's a fantastic sweatshirt.
Tennessee. All right, we got some Tennessee folks here. That's great. Texas. All right, are you guys excited for Donald Trump to be the new president? Yes.
Ohio.
We got Ohio too. All right.
Oh my gosh.
So we're having a great time out here, Bill.
Oh, that is fantastic. You're hearing Jeff Hunt report live outside of the arena where Donald J. Trump is going to speak later on today. In fact, Jeff, we're going to step aside. We'll check in with Blake here in a second. And then you and I are going to talk to Don in Aurora. I want to hear what Don's expectations are for Trump's administration. How is he going to judge success? Because in my hands, I have got this manila folder that I went and stole from the supply closet across the hall where the salespeople are, because they don't let us have anything like this, especially we don't even have scissors. We're not allowed anything sharp, which is probably smart, but still. It says Jeff and Bill Trump predictions. I put the date on it, and we are going to hide it here in the studio later on today, and then we will crack open the seal and then take a look at it a year from now and also 2 years to see how well we've done and also to see how well we think Donald Trump has done. But first, you know the voice, you know the man, you know his sense of humor. It is now time for Blake Olson, News and Commentary. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Billy. Great show, man. I love that you heard Brooklyn, Greeley, and Miami.
Dude, that's nuts.
That's awesome. That's what it's all about.
I love the fact that there are so many just, rank and file Americans that have made the trek. They put their lives on hold for even a couple of days and made the trip out there to celebrate this. This is something historic. Whether or not you agree or disagree with Trump going back into the White House, this is something that will be taught in the history books forever. And you can tell your kids and your grandkids you were there. This is something special, man. This is something special.
So cool. You're doing a great job, and so is Jeff. Just get that phone out there and just keep on talking to people.
Oh,
it's awesome.
So what's going on in the real world?
Well, here we go. Hey, it's 3 below and cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 10 degrees.
Oh, geez, that sucks.
If we're lucky.
Oh, geez.
Hey, you're the one that had to drive in today.
I know.
God bless you, man.
It was really cold. And this is, okay, I got to pause here for a second. Okay.
Yeah.
There are weird things about me that people are learning slowly. I hate the idea of driving over our driveway if it hasn't been shoveled because it crushes down the snow and that stuff.
Same.
Yeah. So I went out this morning when it's still dark and it was single digits and I shoveled the driveway because I'm that much of an idiot just to get out. And then one of my other kids has a dental appointment later on this morning and I'm like, fine. So I did the entire walk and then brushed up their car too. I'm like, might as well. I'm already out here freezing. I took us off. Yeah.
I get lazy. Do you ever try to match up the tires and just do the two 2 tire lanes?
Yes, exactly. Just just to stay there. Although, okay, big secret. Now I didn't use it this morning, but I'll tell you what, over Christmas, the big thing that Santa put under the tree for me was an electric snow shovel.
Oh, I forgot about that. How is
that thing? Oh, it is the bomb. It is awesome. Now, again, it's somewhat heavy, but basically it's just like a mini snowblower, and you hold it like you're holding a shovel. And you just go, now again, it's not like it's not as easy as pushing around like an electric lawnmower, but because you have to go back and do the tracks, but you're not lifting and spinning and turning your back. So by the end of it, you're just like, oh, that wasn't too bad at all. And it cuts it by about half the time and it's all rechargeable. So
that's cool,
phenomenal.
Man. I'm glad. I'll come over and borrow it.
Dude, anytime, man. You're free. You can just open the garage and take it anytime you want. Okay. Thanks. Okay. Back to the news.
I have the code.
Yes, you do.
Speaking of inventions, here's Elon.
What matters going forward is to actually make significant changes, cement those changes, and set the foundation for America to be strong for a century, for centuries, forever. So,
making America great again. Elon last night with DJT. It's Inauguration Day in America. DJT will be sworn in as the 47th president of the United States at noon Eastern, which is 10 Mountain Time. It may be between 9:45 and 10 o'clock our time. Once Trump takes the oath of office, he'll officially become the second American president to serve 2 non-consecutive terms. Time to expose the corruption.
As a first step toward restoring transparency and accountability to government, we will also reverse the overclassification of government documents, and in the coming days, we are going to make public remaining records relating to the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, his brother Robert Kennedy, as well as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and other topics of great public interest. It's all going to be released, Uncle Sam.
Oh, man, I'm looking forward to all that. DJT will use 2 Bibles for his swearing-in ceremony. One will be a Bible his mother gave him in 1955 for his primary school graduation, signed by church officials and inscribed with Trump's name. The other is the Lincoln Bible that was first used at President Lincoln's swearing in 1861. Americans can once again get back on TikTok. The app was down for about 16 hours from Saturday evening to Sunday morning. When users reopened the app, a message popped up thanking them for their patience and praising 47 for getting the app back online.
You know, I did a little TikTok thing. We have a guy, TikTok Jack. He's a young kid, like 21 years old. And we hired this guy, and I went on TikTok. Can you believe what I'll do to win an election? And we went on TikTok, And Republicans have never won the young vote, the youth vote. They win a lot of votes, but they never won the youth vote. We won the youth vote by 36 points. So I like TikTok.
Preemptive pardons have been issued by Sleazy Joe for a bunch of sleazy people. General Mark Milley, Dr. Anthony Fauci, and members of the January 6th Congressional Committee, including, Lizzie Dizzy Cheney. The move announced this morning aims to protect them from prison. Yes, that's what it does. Doggone it. I wanted them behind bars. House Speaker Mike Johnson optimistic that the ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas will hold. NBC's Rory O'Neill on with Billy last hour and said Hamas gave out gift bags to hostages.
Yeah, we know that they all were. Each of them was given a bag. A necklace was in it as well. The women say that the Israeli security forces took the bags from them, so they didn't have them very long, but they are supposed to include some photos and a necklace and a map. So we don't know too much about it, what the intention was, or more specific details about those items.
Incredible.
What the hell? I mean, gift bags.
What?
From the, you're like, hey, hope you enjoyed your time as a hostage. Here's a parting gift. Like, and the idea that they gave him a map and then also pictures, as if this is something you wanted to remember. Where does that go in, in all the pictures you have at the house? Where does that go in your, in your little Snapchat, TikTok feed?
Right.
Where does that go? Where do you put that on the Christmas card? I mean, well, technically it's Israel, so it wouldn't be Christmas cards. Your Hanukkah card? I mean, I just went, how? Why? Who the hell?
I mean, who knows what those people are thinking? Seriously.
And here's the other part: is there had to be a meeting. Hamas had to have some sort of a meeting, gift bags. Yes. Okay. And you have to wonder,
I got an idea.
Exactly.
Let's do this. I've been to America a couple of times.
The other part is
my cousin goes to Central Florida. This is what they
this is what they do, the swag bags. Haven't you seen the Oscars? We watched the Oscars this week. This is what they do.
Have you ever been to an American football game?
Yeah. And so you got to wonder who was in charge of choosing the gifts. Then you got to choose the bags. That's got a whole nother weight to it. And then you got to figure what's the presentation. I'm curious, did they put the girls do? Did they put all the tissue paper and stuff in it so it looks like it's going to come out the top? Or, or just drop in the bag like dudes do and like, hey, good luck.
Yeah, right.
I mean, what is this? Yeah, I'm
like
so
we
curious.
do for Valentine's Day.
Oh, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I told Jeff that during Christmas. It's easy to tell who in the family wrapped your gifts. Anybody. This is universal. If it has a bow on it, that was wrapped by a woman. If it doesn't, wrapped by a dude.
It's 100%.
Yeah, you can always find. You can always tell.
Yeah,
okay.
You brought up tissue paper. I was wondering if it was.
I want to know. Did the tissue paper
camouflage tissue paper?
Exactly. Who? Someone. Again, so many questions. So many questions, my friend. I'm sorry.
Crazy.
Okay, continue.
No. I'm right there with you. All right. Denver officials are warning residents about a tech scam involving parking tickets. I got this over the weekend, and I was going, "What? I haven't even been down there. I don't think maybe one time." Some residents have recently text messages urging them to pay a parking invoice to avoid being charged with a late fee. The city's Department of Transportation and Infrastructure does not send texts asking for payment. Moreover, the website tied to the message asks for a full name and zip code, information not required by the actual Denver parking ticket payment page. Officials say the scammers are fishing for personal and financial information using the fake site. So don't do it. If you get a text talking about that you're late on parking tickets, don't do it. Don't deal with it. Delete it or don't answer it. The NFL Conference Championship games are now set. AFC, the Chiefs will take on Josh Allen and the Bills Sunday at Arrowhead. And in the NFC, the Eagles will play host to the Commanders, shocking everybody at Lincoln Financial Field. CFB, the College Football National Championship tonight, Notre Dame, Ohio State. It's 5 below in Castle Rock, 4 below in Thornton, and 3 below in Denver. But it's going to get warmer. It's going to get up to 10 today. It is Monday, Inauguration Day, and it's also MLK Day, of course. Jeff and Billy continue.
The new Ronaldus Magnus, Donald J. Trump.
Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Cold weather advisory remains in effect until 9 a.m. Tuesday. Good morning, Denver. We're going to have some morning clouds and maybe some remnant snow showers as our final Arctic front passes through. High temps today will struggle to get to 10 above. Lows early tonight will be around 0, but then temps will start to rise as a milder air mass streams in. That's going to bring much warmer temps for tomorrow with some breezy winds, partly sunny and highs in the upper 30s. Lows Tuesday night not nearly as cold, low 20s and breezy. Meteorologist Don Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Every time that music hits, I sit up straighter in the chair. Normally we got regular, just music that I like, and I'm dancing, I'm bopping around, but that's official music. I gotta sit up straight on this one. Good morning. This is the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Bill Thorpe here, holding down the fort in Denver. Jeff has made the pilgrimage all the way to freezing Washington, D.C., and is hanging out with MAGA supporters outside the arena as we are getting ready to celebrate the triumphant return of Donald John Trump to the White House. That is happening later today, and we are expecting a flurry of executive orders within the first 24 hours, possibly even some deportation activities. That's my question for you. What are your expectations? How are you going to judge success? As I've talked about, we have got an envelope that we have absconded with from the sales department here at Salem Media, and we've come over and we've written some stuff on top of it, and we're going to hide it in this very studio. And then a year from now, we're going to dig it up, pull back that carpet, and then crack the seal and find out how correct you and I were. We've got predictions from Jeff, Joe from Arvada. Blake Olson's going to give us his predictions later on. Rory O'Neill, our NBC News National Correspondent, chimed in. Marcus, Tony, Francis, Joe from Arvada as well. I've got text messages from 8875-7947. And now we are going to connect with Don. Don from Aurora joining us here on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Don. And what are your expectations for the Trump administration? How are we going to be able to judge him a success in 12 and 24 months?
Extremely low.
Extreme what?
Extremely low.
Okay.
You touched on it earlier in the show, is that you don't see any rallying of public support for DOGE.
Yeah.
I don't either. And the problem that Trump has is he's dealing with Team Uniparty and he's dealing with Team Trump. And Team Uniparty outnumbers Team Trump. He's not going to beat Team Uniparty without massive public support. I don't see it.
Ooh, now I got a question on that one, Don. Do you think the DOGE recently, Elon Musk, not the office itself, but Musk and Vivek came out and created waves with the H-1B visa programs, saying that in no uncertain terms, you Americans are too dumb to be able to fill these tech jobs, so we've got to bring in the immigrants. How is that kind of thing going to play out? Immediately, you had kind of a backlash, especially from MAGA. What do you think is going to happen with that type of push and pull inside the administration?
I think, well, there's people I read and people I listen to, and I happen to agree with them, that eventually there's going to be a falling out between Musk and DJT.
Yeah, I think so too.
I just don't see how that could be avoided. I'm not expecting a lot out of DOGE.
I'm not either.
And to be honest with you, I would judge success if things are not marginally worse than they are now in 4 years, and I'll be happy with it.
That's, okay. Let me write that down. That's interesting. Okay.
Now, there's a lot of really bad juju on the horizon. Biden, there was supposed to be a massive increase in Medicare Part D, and Joe Biden shoveled billions of dollars into the system to keep that from happening. That increase is going to happen this year.
Yeah,
and it's probably going to be higher because you got more people retiring and more people going on Medicare Part D. That's going to get tied to DJT's tail.
Now, I've got a question for you, Don from Aurora.
Sure.
Joining Jeff and Bill live. Jeff's there with us in Washington, D.C. I want to talk to you about some of the budget cuts they were talking about. Jeff spent some time listening to Art Laffer and listening to a bunch of other economists talking about how they're going to be able to cut Medicare, Social Security, stuff like that, some of those support services that are there. One of the questions I have is, if Donald Trump does not see the economic gains that he is promising, will he be able to cut the support services? And the reason being, my guess is, if we're sitting exactly where we are, or as you expect, possibly the economy gets worse, we're going to need more support services. When you have more people on food stamps, when you have more people unemployed, you can't cut those budgets. Do you think that's a possibility? And what do you think they're going to do about it?
Well, my understanding of between this, let me just start with Medicare and Medicaid. The problem is with Medicare. Medicare, I understand, is a pretty easy fix. The problem is Medicaid. I mean, Medicare and Medicaid. I don't see how he makes do what he wants to do without massively increasing the amount of economic activity, and I just don't see that.
It's a good point.
I'm trying to withhold judgment. I got a pretty good idea. We'll have a pretty good idea where this is going by tax time. I don't think it's going to take that long. The deportations, I will be stunned if it's over 100,000.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think? Why do you think he's not going to get as many as he's promising?
There's too many people benefiting from the system. From the present system. You see that here in Colorado.
Yeah.
It's like what I mentioned before about Team Uniparty and Team Trump.
Yeah.
Team Uniparty is going to fight this tooth and nail because they're benefiting, and too many of the people who are keeping them in office are benefiting.
Yeah, the people that are supporters.
That has to be broken. That has to be broken, burned, ground up, in the ground salted, and I don't see that happening.
Oh, Don, thank you. That is insightful. I appreciate the phone call. You can call us just like Don from Aurora did, 696-1971. Those are some very low expectations Don has for the Trump administration. He thinks Team Uniparty is going to beat Team MAGA, and he doesn't think we're going to even get to 100,000 deported. Jeff Hunt, you're there in Washington, D.C. with us. What do you think? Do you think Don is being too pessimistic?
Utah, right? Hey, Billy.
Yeah.
Hey, you party poopers over there sounding like you are all that. It is a totally different feel here.
Yeah, tell me about it there.
I just spoke to people from Utah. I just spoke to people from Oklahoma, Ohio. They love J.D. Vance. They see this economy being unleashed, that confidence is going to come back to businesses, that the money isn't just always going to be going back to the government. So a lot more optimism here than what Don was bringing on that last call.
I understand. You're listening to Jeff Hunt, broadcasting live from Washington, D.C. He is outside the arena where Donald J. Trump is going to make his triumphant return to Washington later on today. Now we're going to talk to Dwayne in Divide. Also, huge shout out to Mary from Wyoming. Mary, stay warm this morning. She said it was minus 20 and feels like minus 42 with the wind chill, but she was using her Snow Joe electric shovel this morning to clear her porch. Another person getting on the electric snow shovel bandwagon. High five, Mary. High five. Hey, Dwayne, welcome, man. How's Monday treating you? And what are your expectations for Donald Trump's administration, and how are you going to judge his success?
Well, let's see. Poor Mary is only at 20. We're at 36 below up here on the bluff.
Oof,
and that's without the wind chill.
Oh, that's why I can't live there.
Well, but the view, Bill, I mean, the view is really worth it all.
Yes.
So there is that. No, I just use a flamethrower to clear everything. It's a lot easier. With all the snow, nothing's going to catch fire.
That's true. That is true. So what are your expectations and how are you going to judge success? If we crack this manila envelope next to me open here in a year, what is going to be written down from Dwayne from Divide that we can judge the Trump administration as a success?
I'm going to see 200,000 evacuated. And I'm going to see a huge amount of ACLU and all the people that are on the resistance that are going to sit there and keep him from being able to do more. I believe with the energy costs coming down, of course, once you get the price of fuel down, everything gets delivered, that costs less. So we're going to see a positive on that direction. I expect him to have kind of a 65-35 overall run for the first year. And I think that's going to be the best way to see it, because there's going to be so much going against him, and he's got so much thicket to chop through to finally get everything back in order. And I think that's going to be how it's going to work out. I do like the fact that Fauci once again escapes the noose, and one of the other Cheneys did a deal with the devil, and she's now never going to have any problems, just like her dad.
Now, that's interesting. Now, Dwayne, let's look at the first 2 years, because there's part of me, I'm looking for the best of America. Even though I'm not a fan of Donald J. Trump, I am hoping that the policies and programs that he implements are going to bring success to America. And I'm more than happy to admit they will. The question I've got is, we get 2 years in, does Donald Trump become a lame duck president? And does that, if you agree, does it mean he only really has 24 months to really enact his agenda? Your thoughts on that?
Well, if the current Democratic people continue to run the place, they keep coming up with other excuses, but they just seem to keep running more and more towards the progressive items, and nobody's buying it. And I think that he's going to have 4 years of some arguments, a lot of noise, a lot of bluster. But I think he could take the full 4 years without having any problems, maybe even extend in Congress for the first time and have a few more people to get the bills across. I think the Senate will stay the same.
Now, tell me, Dwayne, why you think he's going to have a 4-year run when most of the time presidents that are in a final term are considered lame ducks at the final two, because the people that need to get reelected after their term don't have to be beholden to the White House anymore, because he doesn't have a lot of stroke. How is Donald Trump going to change what has been the usual? And again, he's good at doing that. But how is he going to make it different that he's still going to hold that power in the last 2 years? Help me understand that.
Okay, well, in his first 2 years, everybody on the right was buying the fact that he had done something with the Russians. And I think that a lot of them jumped early on the ship to make sure they weren't associated with him. On this splash, I believe that it's going to be one more of the progressives are going to keep coming back with, we need to have more trans, we need more of this, we need all these different items. And I believe right now that people have had 4 years of it. And if he is anywhere near successful and continues, I think the public is going to stay on his side. You've got J.D. Vance in the wings, and he's going to be displayed a lot to sit there and keep things going, because J.D. Vance is incredible. Hillbilly, jumped out of a car to get himself away from his mother. 18, joins the military, gets with the Marines, goes to Yale, makes money on a hedge fund, marries a young lady of a different ethnicity. Not that it makes a big difference to me, but it does to many others. He's really a fabulous story, and he can bounce right in. And the fact that we finally got some people like Boebert and others that are beginning to show up in Congress and in the Senate. Ted Cruz has been a fighter for a long time, but he's been standing on the shore, waving the light, going, "I need more people."
Yeah.
And I think if the situation goes socially and everything, it's going to work well. And I really think on the TikTok thing, well, I'm not in agreement that we should still have it. The fact that they honored 47 for it really puts the last black eye on Biden on the whole thing. And I'm seeing a lot of people saying, Donald Trump saved TikTok, he's got my vote. And that's the youth. And if that happens,
that's interesting.
I think he's really going to, so I think he's going to have a lot of things. A friend of mine, she has 2 million followers. She's a barefoot archer. And she almost lost all her money, but now that she's getting it back. So it's just some of the people that are doing these things. And she's just like, I love Donald Trump for saving TikTok. And that's a vote for him guaranteed, and probably out of our 2 million followers, at least 10, 12 people.
Yeah, that is true. Hey, Dwayne, thanks for the phone call. I really appreciate you. Stay warm up there. Hope your son is doing well. Now, that's interesting when we talk to Dwayne, because he's 180 degrees away from Don and Aurora, who was right in front of him. Don was saying that he thinks the public is going to prevent Donald Trump for being effective in those final 2 years, where Dwayne says he believes Donald Trump is going to be so successful, he'll have the wind at his back, and he's going to change history and not be a lame duck for those final 2 years in office. That's going to be interesting. Upcoming, we have got Ted Trimpa, Democrat strategist. You're listening to Jeff and Bill, but before we take a break, I do want to get to Joan from Lakewood, because she has taken the time to call us this morning. I don't want to make her wait until after we talk to Ted Trimpa, the strategist, coming up. I want to honor Joan's time. I know she's so busy and probably has got a lot of stuff to do today. Good morning, Joan. How are you today? And welcome to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Good morning. Happy MAGA.
Yeah, happy MAGA. Are you excited today, Joan? Are you happy?
Oh, I thought this day would never come, and I've had friends that are all out in D.C., and I've been living vicariously through them. And I'm on my way to a watch party right now. And you intrigued me by asking and saying you'd put my little thing in an envelope. So here's my little thing.
Yep. What are your expectations and success? I'm writing them down. I got my pen in my hand right now.
No more foreign wars.
Ooh, nice. Okay.
I think that a lot of people, when Trump kept us out, and you sit here and say, how is he going to get the money? How is he going to get the money? He is not going to be giving billions away.
Nice. Now, Joan, I want to qualify this. Do you say no more foreign wars, as in if we crack this open a year from now or 2 years from now, there will be no international conflicts? Or are you saying just the U.S. will not be involved? And by being involved, I mean things like we're not going to be sending money to Ukraine, stuff like that. How are you judging no more foreign wars? I just want to be open and honest and make sure that I get what you're saying exactly right.
I don't think that we should be supporting certain things that are not in our best interest. I'm not outlining some of the stuff that they might happen if we decide that Panama belongs to us. But I think that there is no appetite, absolutely none, in the public to spend our treasure and our boys and everything on some of the things that have been spent on in the last 4 years.
Excellent. So outside of no foreign wars, what else do you think would be, in your mind, viewed as a success for the first year or 24 months of the Donald Trump administration?
I would like to see an awful lot of regulation removed. Right now, there is an awful lot out there as far as the government telling us what we can and can't do, especially with our property, especially here in Colorado. It's like, you can't do this and you can't do that. And we can come in here, and if you're like within a half a mile of a transportation center, we can take your land. It's not good. And
Joan, I like that one. I like that one. You were the first one to bring up the idea of regulations. Thank you. That's very insightful. And I think you've got a really nice idea there that if Donald Trump is able to roll back some of these regulations, the downstream effect, I think, is incredibly powerful. Thank you so much for the call, because what'll happen is if you roll back those regulations, hopefully it opens up the idea for businesses to expand, to grow wages. We could see some more economic success that we weren't necessarily anticipating. I like where Joan is thinking on that one. That and no foreign wars. We want to know what your expectations are. How are you going to judge success? I have a manila envelope in my hands right here. I stole it from the Salem sales department because they don't let us have anything like envelopes and nothing sharp. Probably a good idea. But so what we're going to do is we're going to seal that and then hide it right here in the KNUS studio. And then a year from now, we will crack it open and see whether or not we are Nostradamus, realists, or just imposters. We're going to talk with Ted Trimpa, Democrat strategist, about his expectations, how he will judge success, and what he's going to view for the MAGA problems going ahead for the Donald Trump administration. Jeff Hunt is live in Washington, D.C., standing outside the arena where Donald Trump is going to make his triumphant return later on today. I'm Bill Thorpe, sitting here in the studio. You're listening to Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS. so weird that we got full music behind me. This is Bill Thorpe. You're listening to Jeff and Bill Live. This is News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm here in Denver, freezing my tuchus off, while Jeff is outside. He's outside in the cold. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit happier about that right now. He's outside. He's joining us live from Washington, D.C., standing outside the arena where Donald J. Trump is going to make an appearance later on today. And right now, we are welcoming Democrat strategist Ted Trimpa to the Jeff and Bill Show on KNUS. Good morning, Ted. How are you this morning, sir?
I'm doing well. Good morning, Bill and Jeff. Doing well.
Now, I've got a question for you. It is only 8:39 in the morning. When are you going to start drinking? Okay, I'm being facetious. No, what I want to know is, what are your expectations? How are you going to
win?
Yeah, exactly. Just been doing it ever since the election. Oh, you're the best. Now, what are your expectations? How are you going to judge success for the Trump administration? I believe, like you, I want America to succeed. We're not looking for a crash and burn. You and I both are skeptics about this administration, but we're not looking for this country to just completely and totally fall apart. So giving Trump the benefit of the doubt, we're going to crack this thing open. I've got a manila envelope behind me. We're going to seal this thing up and not even look at it until next year. For Ted Trimpa, Democrat strategist, what are the expectations for Donald Trump's administration, and how would you judge it as a success?
Well, first of all, one, keeping the country together. And I think that there is a possibility that some folks will keep wetting their pants and, wringing their hands together, thinking the world's coming to an end when it's not. Because I think people are really exaggerating what they think the fears are. The guy is president, so let's let him be president. And I think these first 100 days or this first year, I think there's going to be some positive reactions to him. I actually think some of the stuff that he's proposing is kind of common sense, even though policy-wise I disagree with it. The key is going to be how he plays out the immigration play, because, one or two bad instances that thing could crash. But I think all in all, that first 100 days, or at least even that first year, I think that it will be somewhere where his numbers are still pretty good. The one thing that's going to be brakes on him in terms of some of the things he wants to do is going to be the Senate. He has a good margin there, but there are, some old guard, and then there's some, basically the women who are going to call into question. I think on year two, I think that because it's going to be seen at least as really aggressive in terms of what the president wants to do, there's going to be a little bit of the pendulum swinging back. And I think just like in most presidencies, Biden excluded, that the midterm elections will probably be something good for Democrats. That's assuming we Democrats get our act together. I mean, I've written an op-ed about it. I think Democrats have got to stop being the party of the elite, the party of woke, the party that tells you how you think, where you need to go, who you can marry, all of that kind of stuff. So that's my 100-day first year and second year.
Oh, interesting. Now, do you have a number as far as, let's just talk a raw number of deportations, because that's been a signature plan for Trump. We are hearing rumors that there's going to be some sort of a shock and awe within this first week, that he's going to be doing some deportations. Is there a number in your mind that you're like, oh, okay, I think that his deportations is a success because he's been able to get how many out of the country?
Well, it's hard to. I'm not trying to dodge the question, but
okay.
But I guess I am. It's hard to know how many, relative to what. But I will say this: of those that he deports, there are, I think, two things that could be third rails for him, and that is if he deports people who haven't committed a serious crime. If he starts deporting people just to deport them, I think that is going to create issues. Second, he deports people and splits up families, because it's going to bring back all that family separation policy stuff that Stephen Miller did. And that could be disastrous, because I think the American public, after a few images of kids without a parent, I think will react pretty starkly to that.
Yeah, I think you've got a point there, that the premise of, well, if you don't want to be separated, you can leave with them, isn't going to be the sell that some of MAGA believes it is, because that seems very cold. The idea of, well, we're going to push your part of the family out of the country and you can go with them. It's almost that idea of America, love it or leave it. Like, well, no, we're one of the few countries in which you can change it. It's kind of like North Korea, love it or leave it. That's kind of the deal that they have there, not here.
You know, I mean, and I'll give this, and I'll grant this. A lot of the situation that we're in is that we had a policy that was too porous, and you know, too many were let in. And I think what happened within the White House is you had a clash of the more moderate wing, which was kind of the center of the West Wing, which is, you know, Biden and his close advisors, and then the rest of the White House, which was a bunch of Sanders and Warren folks. Because it's been written about, you know, part of the deal that was made when Biden won that primary was, okay, Biden will win South Carolina and then go on to win these other primary states because he's, you know, the presumptive nominee, because otherwise he probably would have lost because he didn't have operations in them. But in exchange for that, then, you know, you're going to have Warren people in the White House. You're going to have Sanders people in the White House, which created a lot of conflict from the actual West Wing to the rest of the White House.
Yeah, and that conflict was a serious problem. I want to go back. You're listening to Ted Trimpa, Democrat strategist, talking about his expectations and how he's going to judge the Trump administration as a success. I want to go back to your insight about holding Senate and House, how normally in the midterms, things turn against the sitting administration and they end up losing seats. And so what I'm wondering is a question I had asked someone earlier. Does Donald Trump only have 2 years before he's a lame duck, not the 4 years he thinks he does? What's your thought about that?
He better take these 2 years and do as much as he wants to do. And the challenge that they're going to have is they have a lot of items on their agenda that would take really aggressive action. And that aggressive action is going to get some pushback. And so there's going to be a line of how far can they go and not create an environment that makes it to where it's easier for Democrats to take the House back. Because remember that, you know, we're still a really close majority and everybody's up every 2 years. And there just needs to be a little bit of a tailwind for us, and then the Democrats can take it back. Now, with that said, I do think that there is more of a let's work together on something in Donald Trump than people give him credit for. Because if you're one-on-one with him, if you read some of the reports, they come away saying, you know, gosh, I mean, I actually like him. He seems kind of smart. You know, do I think he has the wrong tendencies? Yes. Does he have policy positions that I disagree with? Yes. But I also think he's not going to sit there those last 2 years and just throw, you know, grenades out the window of the White House. Now, some people may say he will. I don't buy that, though. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't either. And I hope that, you know, again, good, bad, or indifferent as far as what Trump's going to accomplish. I hope that he has learned about that 2 year window, because he had a 2 year window last time. And the only major legislative achievement was the tax cuts. That's basically all he had. And when they actually got the repeal and replace of Obamacare to the finish line, that failed because they were like the kid that showed up on the day of sixth grade. The book report was due, and they didn't read the book. They had no replace. They had the repeal down pat, but they had no replace. They just simply weren't prepared for this. Do you think that the Trump administration is going to be better prepared in understanding they only really have a strong 2 year window to get stuff done right now?
Yeah, no, I think it's clear that they understand that. The question is going to be, again, that line of how far do you go, and you start getting so much blowback, it lessens the possibility of getting what you want, but then also increases the possibility that you're going to win a House. So you're going to have to find that line. The one thing I would say to them, you know, in this 2 year period that they have, it's a rule I learned from actually Captain Sebelius years and years and years ago, and it's the pedal on the right, meaning the accelerator, and you always accelerate out of a curve. And I think that they're in that kind of situation right now.
Oh, that is great. Now, I do have to admit, Ted Trimpa, that oftentimes my family hears me yell that when I'm driving, because when the person in front of me is going too slow, I yell, "It's the pedal on the right!" I just get a little frustrated.
I do the same thing. Oh,
yes.
I literally, I do the same thing. And
yes.
And
yeah.
Just don't get behind a Subaru.
Oh, no, never.
I can see why they have great crash statistics, because they drive like grannies.
Yes, they do. I was at a Subaru that I was following in this morning. Oh, Ted Trimpa, thank you. Democrat strategist joining Jeff and Bill Live. You are the best, sir. Thank you so much for your time. And I hope you enjoy the Donald Trump inauguration today, and make sure you top off that mimosa. It's still early enough that we can keep doing that, sir.
I'm going to be watching it. He's my president, too.
He is mine, too, man. Oh, you're the best. Thank you so much. We'll chat with you soon. Take care, and say hello to Arash. Oh, you're fantastic.
All right, I will.
Thanks.
All right,
bye. All right. That was Ted Trimpa joining Jeff and Bill live. Jeff is live in Washington, D.C. I want to check in with him real quickly before we go to break. Oh, no, actually, looking at the time, I have talked way too much to Ted. We need to take a break so we can run all the commercials so that we can pay, so they'll keep the lights on for us, because the last thing I want to do is not run the advertisers and come in and there's no lights tomorrow. You know, you feel me? Call me, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text the Dan Kaplan Law text line, 720-819-5115, 720-819-5115, the Dan Kaplan Law text line. I am taking predictions from Jason in Denver. I've got predictions from 6135-8422, 7586, all telling me what they believe Donald Trump's going to be able to accomplish in the first 2 years, and we're going to seal it in a manila envelope and then crack that sucker open in a year. How are you going to judge his success? What are your expectations? This is Denver's Talk Leader. We're Jeff and Bill. News Talk 710, KNUS. This is Jeff and Bill. Jeff is broadcasting live with us from Washington, D.C. Is there outside the arena where Donald J. Trump is going to make his triumphant return later on today. We are running out of time this hour. Right when we get back, I'm going to talk to Jeff about who he's been seeing and talking to, where people have traveled to come for this historic moment. And you'll get a little bit of taste of what's going on and the enthusiasm for the return of the White House, Donald J. Trump. This is a historic day. Something's going to be in the history books. What are your expectations for the next couple of years? News Talk 710, KNUS. is Inauguration Day, baby. Do you have goosebumps? Either good ones or bad ones. Are you afraid about the direction the country is going? Or are you looking at this as a new day in America? For me, I feel like this is a fog that is clearing. The fog of the inactivity, the fog of the confusion of the Biden administration. I am hopeful for the direction of America. I hope Donald J. Trump can do what he's promising and bring in a new golden age to this nation. I know it's going to surprise a bunch of you that I'm saying that. I am skeptical, however. I am going to come at this with open eyes, and I will hold him accountable. But today is about a historic new day in America. Today is one of those days you're going to find in the history books. You're going to be able to tell your kids, your grandkids, your great-grandkids that you either watched this live on TV or were there live. Just like my man, Jeff Hunt. This is Bill Thorpe here in Denver. Jeff Hunt is reporting live from Washington, D.C. Jeff, how are you doing out there? Are you freezing? What's the line look like at the arena where he's going to be there later?
Dude, the line is still going. I can't even see the end of the line. All right, so here's the deal.
Yeah.
Okay. Joe Biden, Donald Trump just got in a limousine together, left the White House. They're on the way to the Capitol to the inauguration. Now, traditionally, there'd be 200,000 of us outside the steps of the Capitol for the inauguration. The president canceled that, moved everything inside because he was concerned about the cold. Now, I don't blame him. We got a motorcade going by right now.
Oh, good. I was worried they were going to arrest you. It'd be me.
Yeah, that motorcade is literally right in front of me with its sirens on. Holy cow. Okay. So Donald Trump moves it inside to the rotunda, but the only space you have there is basically for members of Congress. So the rest of us have to come down here to the Capital One Arena, that's where the Wizards play. The hockey team holds about 20,000 people. They've definitely filled it up, and the line just keeps going. There's a lot of people that aren't going to be able to get in, which is a disappointment. But there's watch parties all over Washington, D.C. But Billy, there's going to be so much winning over the next 4 years. You're not even going to know what to do with it. I was listening to Ted Trimpa. I appreciate Ted's optimism, his commitment to the president, but there's going to be so much winning. That's the attitude here. People are so excited. There's live bands playing. There's street vendors out here selling stuffed Donald Duck stuffed animals.
Oh my God, how cute. You've got to take some pictures and share some of that merch with me. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, there's so much merch. Everybody's excited. It's a festival. They're optimistic, hopeful. The dawn of a new golden age in America. That's what the people are expecting out here.
Oh, it's wonderful. You are listening to Jeff Hunt. He is broadcasting live. He is standing with the enormous line of people that have come from all over our nation to celebrate the triumphant return to Washington of Donald J. Trump. He's standing outside the arena where Trump is going to make an appearance later on today. Jeff's been to 2 different balls already. He's been hanging out with some really cool guys, hung out Art Laffer, a bunch of other people. We're going to talk to him about the feeling inside of Washington, D.C., about the change in the air. I said as we opened up, it's like a fog is being lifted. I feel it as well. I have optimistic thoughts and feelings about the direction that Donald Trump has the ability to take this country in. Although, unlike my friend Jeff, I'm a little bit skeptical about his ability to get us there. But we'll see what happens. Jeff and I are going to dive into this deep. We want to hear from you. 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. What are your expectations? How will you judge success? I've got a manila folder in my hands right here. You can see it on the YouTubes and the Rumbles and the Twitters and wherever you're watching us. I stole it from our sales department and then wrote stuff on it. I'm going to hide it in this studio here at 710 KNUS. As soon as we are done and go off the air today, I pulled up a little piece of carpet over there in the corner. They're not going to know about it. I'm going to put a little, thing on top of it. No one's going to know. And then a year from now, we're going to pull back that carpet. We're going to unseal it and see whether or not we were a bunch of Nostradamuses. But first, it is time to find out what is going on in the real world. It's Blake Olson, news and commentary. Good morning, Blake. How are you?
Write these 2 down for me.
Okay, gotcha, man.
Paper.
Okay, here we go. Hang on. Got a flip there. There we go. Okay, I'm ready.
Or maybe 3.
Yes, I got you. I am ready, sir.
Freaking, write this word down. Freaking sovereign border.
Okay.
I need the border shut down.
Okay.
Stronger military.
Okay.
All right. And lower cost of living. How about that?
Ooh, I like that. Okay, so lower
I've got
cost of
10
living.
more, but I'm going to hold those off.
Okay.
Hold off on
And
those.
probably some of them have curse words. So,
yes. They do. You know me too
I
well,
do, man. We are such friends. Exactly. Alrighty. Hey, so we're sitting here playing around, talking about Washington. I'm certain there are other things going on in the world, and you and I got to talk sports here in a second about how Patrick Mahomes. So lying, I can't say that word on the. I got in trouble for saying the word on the air Friday, so I can't say that word again. But dude's a pretender. But we'll talk about that in a second, my friend. What's going on in the real world?
We'll do it right at the end of this. It's 0 and cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of, let's see, here we go. How high will we get up today? 10 degrees. Get out there in your shorts and go exercise. Go jog. Our top story.
And we are going to make America great again.
DJT is headed to the arena right now, as Jeff just reported, in a limo. I guess it's an SUV, maybe. I'm not sure. With President Biden. That'll be interesting for DJT. Earlier this morning, he met with the Bidens for tea at the White House and also attended an Inauguration Day service at St. John's Episcopal Church. Following tea at the White House, Biden was expected to escort Trump, and that is, in fact, what he's doing right now. Trump will be sworn in as the 47th president in about less than an hour.
At noon, the curtain closes on 4 long years of American decline, and we begin a brand new day of American strength and prosperity, dignity and pride. Bringing it all back. Once and for all, we're going to end the reign of a failed and corrupt political establishment in Washington, a failed administration. We're not going to take it anymore.
Amen. Vivek Ramaswamy is leaving the proposed Department of Government Efficiency. Multiple reports say Ramaswamy, who was DJT's choice to co-lead the task force along with Elon, is expected to depart as he plans to announce a campaign for Ohio governor as soon as the end of January. Musk is now expected to be fully in charge of DOGE. Today marks the first time that foreign leaders will attend a U.S. president's inauguration. Giles Gibson has more.
Argentina's President Javier Milei, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, and Marion Maréchal, who's the niece of French far-right politician Marine Le Pen, all flew into Washington to watch Donald Trump take the oath of office for a second time. The Trump team's guest list included significant outreach to Beijing. Chinese President Xi Jinping was invited, but he decided to send Vice President Han Zheng in his place.
Thank you, Giles. I appreciate that. Colorado Congressman Greg Lopez is also in D.C. and told Billy he wants what most of the American people want.
That would be my goal, is let's just pass a budget like the people want us to do. Let's do accountability over the taxpayers' dollars, and let's get rid of these programs that we're spending close to $516 billion a year on programs that no longer have the authorization to exist.
DJT plans to sign multiple executive orders just hours after being sworn in about an hour. The Wall Street Journal reporting that Trump plans to declare a national emergency on the U.S.-Mexico border and rescind Biden's DEI directives. Trump will also reportedly unwind Biden's limits on drilling offshore and on federal land. General Mark Milley, Dr. Anthony Fauci, and the crooked members of the GN, some of the crooked members of the January 6th Congressional Committee, like Liz Cheney, they're getting preemptive pardons from Biden. The move announced this morning aims to protect them from being locked up. But actually, I needed to tell you what Biden said. They do not deserve to be the targets of unjustified and politically motivated prosecutions. Ripshot. Thank you very much. Wow, that's incredible. TikTok is back online in the U.S. The app was banned over concerns its Chinese parent company could pose national security threats, but DJT is trying to find an American buyer. All right, NFL Conference Championship games are now set in the AFC. The Chiefs are going to square off against Josh Allen and the Bills on Sunday at Arrowhead. And in the NFC, the Eagles will play host to the Commanders. The Commanders from D.C., they're celebrating Washington now at Lincoln Financial coming up this weekend. CFB, the College Football National Championship tonight, Notre Dame and Ohio State. And Billy, you wanted to talk about the Chiefs.
Yeah, the hell. Seriously. I
love Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, God.
You love him.
The thing is, I'm a soccer fan, so I have seen certain players get preferential treatment. Certain players are treated a little bit differently, and I don't think that the refs were in the tank for the Chiefs. However, I do think that the referees and Patrick Mahomes exchanged jerseys as a show of solidarity after the game. Yeah, he's treated differently, and it's not okay. If you saw the Lions game, Jared Goff got lit up again. He was on as a turnover, and dude comes up, nails him, and it gets a concussion and gets taken out for a while. And Mahomes, you touch his head, flag. Okay. Now here's the thing. Even if you think that it's okay and we should be treating these quarterbacks differently, even Mahomes knows that he is treated differently. He doesn't say it, but his actions tell us he knows exactly that he gets different treatment than everybody else on the field. Here's the idea.
Okay.
Everyone saw that flop. Everyone saw when he was going out of bounds and he got pushed and he threw up his arms and then leapt forward onto the ground and fell down. He was acting. He was trying to. And anytime you see the arms flail, that's a soccer thing. You're trying to draw the attention of the referee. And that's what he was doing. He was flailing his arms and he was leaping forward onto the ground, hoping to draw a flag. Okay. What Patrick Mahomes just told every NFL fan, even Chiefs fans, he knows that just by being pushed, that is considered a foul in the NFL on Patrick Mahomes, Chiefs quarterback, not on Bo Nix, Broncos quarterback, not on Jared Goff, Detroit Lions quarterback, none of those, not on any other player, but for him being just pushed too hard as a foul. Also, think about the idea of the toughness and the manliness. Football is the sport of gladiators. And Patrick Mahomes knows that if I get pushed too hard, I get fallen down and they give me a flag.
He's reached that level now.
He has. Yeah. He's reached that.
He has that reputation. And he has Jordan rules.
He does. You're right, man.
He does. No doubt about it.
Yep, exactly.
Maybe Jaden Daniels, the rookie from Washington, in 3 or 4 years, he'll have those.
Oh, you're right.
But it's frustrating because
you
can't. No one's really played football like that.
No.
He's so good. It drives you nuts. But his balance and everything and how he sees the field. And sometimes it's just ugly.
Yeah.
But they win, man.
And here's something else
but the flopping is ridiculous.
Oh, it's awful. And here's something that Adam behind the glass this morning pointed out that he's totally right. If you watch, Mahomes slows down before he gets to the sidelines. And that's a soccer trick. And what that is, when you're coming up on the ball and you've got the ball in front of you and you know there's a defender behind you, you'll slow down a little bit. So you're hoping to create contact behind you with that defender. And then you fall forward and go, oh my God. Oh, I think he broke my hip. And then you roll around on the ground like soccer players do, and you complain about it and wonder why I didn't get the foul. That's what he was doing. He was looking for contact. Anybody that's an NBA fan understands that once you get to a certain level of all-star, traveling doesn't exist for you. You can take 17 steps to the basket.
Boy,
and it's okay.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah, same kind of thing.
Another pet peeve.
Yeah,
and I hate when he slows down like that.
Yeah.
I mean, because safety coming down. That's how he makes his money.
Yeah, exactly.
Light you up.
Yes, he gets paid for that. Oh, nicely done. All right, that's it. I'm going to get off my soapbox, Blake. Let's wrap this up.
Have fun the rest of the
man.
morning with you and Jeff. 2 below in Parker, 3 below in Broomfield, and it's 0 in Denver. Inauguration Day, MLK Day. Jeff is in D.C. Billy's in the studio. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
A cold weather advisory remains in effect until 9 a.m. Tuesday. Good morning, Denver. We're going to have some morning clouds and maybe some remnant snow showers as our final Arctic front passes through. High temps today will struggle to get to 10 above. Lows early tonight will be around 0, but then temps will start to rise as a milder air mass streams in. That's going to bring much warmer temps for tomorrow with some breezy winds, partly sunny and highs in the upper 30s. Lows Tuesday night not nearly as cold, low 20s and breezy. Meteorologist Don Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
How is that music they play behind me? I'm not going to get used to that. Oh, God, they should be playing something like Benny Hill behind me. I know that's really what it should be. Hey, this is Bill Thorpe. I'm here live in Denver. You're listening to News Talk 710 KNUS. Jeff Hunt is in Washington, D.C., and he's giving us the sights and sounds. He's outside the arena where Donald J. Trump is going to return to power later on today. It is a celebration day for America and is a historic day. Today is going to be written about in the history books. Your kids, your grandkids, great-grandkids, where were you? You'll be able to tell them about what you were doing today. I want to know what your expectations are. How are you going to judge success? I've been talking about this manila envelope I got in my hands here. I stole this from the KNUS sales department, and we are going to seal it and then hide it under the carpet here in the control room. And then a year from now, we're going to peel back that carpet, open it up, and see how correct all of us were. Now, I know Jeff and Mrs. Jeff have some things planned later on today, so I want to wrap up real quickly with Jeff Hunt, and then we'll get to the phone calls and George Brauchler coming up with us here in a minute. Jeff, tell us what's going on in D.C. Are you staying warm, my friend? What's going on outside the arena?
Yeah, Billy, things are really kicking off. Here's the question I have for you.
Yeah.
So Donald Trump and Joe Biden just drove from the White House to Congress for the inauguration. What do you think that conversation was like?
Well, you know what I think happened is because last time we heard about Donald Trump in a large SUV, I'm pretty sure he was reaching forward, trying to grab the steering wheel over the Secret Service, and Joe Biden was pushing him back. I'm sorry. I had to bring that one up. I think, I don't know. I think it's a really awkward conversation. I think this is one where, what do you talk about? Because in some ways, both of them wanted to date the prom queen, and the prom queen chose Trump. And Biden still feels like he was pushed out of the entire contest. And if he was just able to allow the prom queen and say, listen, I want to take you out and look at where we're going to go and look what we can do, that she would have said yes. But he never got that chance. So he's got to be a little pissed about this. So I don't know, man. That's got to be the most. Do you think they said anything to each other at all when they were driving? Or was it just one of those things where you're like, it's like elevator practice where you don't say anything for like 3 minutes?
You know what they did is they put up that little glass in between the
Oh, that's fantastic. And the thing is, Joe starts saying something and Donald just pushes the button and he just disappears. It's like, I don't even want to hear from you, old man. Oh, that's fantastic.
I mean, part of the complication in all this is that, Joe Biden is leaving with really poor performance.
Yes.
Right. Part of all the celebration is a rejection of him and his leadership. And so, that's got to weigh on the guy. But sorry, good riddance.
Dude.
Don't let the door hit you.
There is something that is really insightful, something that I had not considered until you just said it. Jeff Hunt, Bill Thorpe here on News Talk 710 KNUS. Jeff's in D.C. right now. The idea that Joe Biden is walking out of his administration as a failure. And I'm not talking about what he may or may not have accomplished in office. He's walking out as the person that even his own party didn't think was an acceptable choice to continue to have the job he already has right now. That has got to, on a personal level, not just professional, but on a personal level, that's got to really sting.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, gosh, think about the division, the brokenness within the Democrat Party right now. You kind of hear it when in the Ted Trimpa interview too, that there was division within the Biden's own White House. So yeah, no, this was on pretty much all accounts, from my perspective, a failed presidency. And part of the jubilation is that guy is gone. That's got to be a little weird on the Biden family at this point.
Yeah, that has.
But Billy, those pardons, those last minute pardons, that shows one of two things. One, that either they were corrupt, people like Liz Cheney and others, or two, that the legal system can be used to prosecute political enemies. And either way, that was a losing message to send your last day, from my perspective.
Ooh, that's interesting. That is interesting, because we know there were people inside of the Trump administration that were looking for preemptive pardons as well. Matt Gaetz, just for one. So that's interesting. We're going to have to examine that when you get back here, or maybe tomorrow. We'll do that. Now, what are your plans for the rest of today? I know you got to go here in a second. And again, give all of my love and understanding to Mrs. Jeff. Thank you so much. Let her know for letting me abscond with you and steal you for this entire morning. It's been wonderful. What do the two of you have planned for the rest of the day?
Yeah, so we're going to be busy. We're visiting with some friends out here. And then tomorrow and Wednesday, we're going to be broadcasting live from the Heritage Foundation, one of the most influential conservative think tanks in the world, if not the most influential conservative think tank in the world. We'll be broadcasting live from there. And members of Congress are already lined up. Commissioners, the sheriff, George Brauchler, they're all swinging by tomorrow and Wednesday live from the Heritage Foundation. It's going to be a very special edition of the Jeff and Bill Show.
I cannot wait, my friend. Well, hey, go out there, have fun, celebrate. I can't wait to see all the pictures on the socials of you partying, and you and I are going to have some time to really dissect some of the conversations we didn't get to today about, some of the pullout sessions and some of the things that happened at the balls that you were able to, over the last couple of days and the weekend. Thank you so much for your time this morning, my friend. Enjoy, celebrate. You deserve it.
I'll tell you what Dave Williams told me at the ball. We'll get into all that and more. So lots to cover, my friend.
Oh, you are the best, Jeff. Stay safe, stay warm. Give your wife all my best. Thank you, and enjoy the day, sir. You have earned it.
Thank you, Billy.
Hey, take care.
Bless you.
God bless. All right, that is Jeff Hunt. He's going to spend the rest of the day partying it up. In all honesty, okay, between you and me, if he ain't drunk in like an hour and a half, I'm going to be disappointed. Just saying. I'm thinking, you got to do it. We do got to thank Mrs. Jeff for allowing us to use him all this morning. That was wonderful. We'll talk to him. There's a picture. I've been told. Dave Williams, Jeff Hunt, at the Turning Point Ball last night. Village people on stage. And they are singing in the Navy. Jeff Hunt, Dave Williams, singing Village People songs. Yeah, we'll bring that to you tomorrow. I want to know what you think are the expectations, the success for the Donald Trump administration. How are we going to judge it? I've got a manila envelope here in my hands, and we are going to seal this thing when we are done today, and we are going to hide it right here in the 710 KNUS studio, and then we're going to crack it open about a year into the administration, and then 2 years into the administration as well. And remember, right after this, I am headed over to the the View House. Mike Boyle is hosting a Donald Trump inauguration party at the View House in Centennial, 10 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. I have more than 100 people already. It's overflow time, baby. And yes, I will take pictures with you. You want to get a picture of me pretending to cry? You want to have some fun with this? I'm your guy. We will have a lot of fun. Coming out there. I'm going to be at the View House with Mike Boyle in Centennial just as soon as we wrap up here, and they let me do all the other stuff I get to do after the show, but I hope to see you out there. And give me a call. I've got Nick, Paul, Jack sitting on the phone lines with me. We're going to get to them in a second. And I'm writing down on a piece of paper everybody's expectations. I've got stuff from Doug, 8422, Janet, Mary in Wyoming, Jason in Denver. Everybody's giving me their suggestions and their expectations. So now let's see what Nick has as far as an expectation. Nick, Denver, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. What are your expectations for the Trump administration? How will you judge success in his first 12 and 24 months, sir?
Well, they need to, and this is going to be a real battle because there's so many entrenched interests that will put minefields all over the place to trip him up. They need to go after the waste, fraud, and mismanagement that, in my opinion, accounts for at least 20% of the federal budget being wasted on garbage, on nonsense.
Ooh, and now I like where you're going. I'm going to stop you there for a second, Nick, and only because, I got to be honest with you, man. I have heard about politicians going to find the waste, fraud, and mismanagement for probably like 2 decades. And you know what? None of them have found it yet. Do we think that Donald Trump is going to be able to find it? And tell me if so, how? How's he going to find it, man?
Well, you need some real people with some real sharp knives to go in there, because the people before pretended they were looking for stuff, but they really weren't looking for anything.
I would agree with you. Now, let's talk about DOGE, because now earlier today, we talked about
I'm sorry.
DOGE, the Department of Governmental Efficiency. It's the Elon Musk Vivek side project.
Yes,
and they're talking about, their focus has been on cutting the federal budget. But I think that their most effective way of attacking the federal government will be through efficiency of the number of people employed, the idea of cutting down on that bureaucracy. And you were talking about the waste and fraud. I think some of that exists.
That's part of the waste and fraud.
Now, that's where I'm going with this, man. Yep, I think you and I are on the same page here. That's part of the waste and fraud. We can agree. Do you think DOGE is going to be effective at cutting down on that government bureaucracy? What do you think?
Well, they're going to have big brass balls, because they are going to encounter minefields all over the place, because the entrenched bureaucracy is not going to give up with one hell of a fight. You know that. And they've been there for like a couple of generations. So you really have to go in there with a shovel and start getting these people out of there.
Oh, Nick.
Now, I know.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know, because they're civil servants, you can't really fire them unless they've done something wrong. But what you can do is move the whole crew over to the side and assign some stupid job for them and basically get them out of the way. But you have to go in there and you have to just clean up the mess, really clean up the mess.
Now, Nick, I got a question for you. I think one of the ways that they could start out by trimming that staff would be to do things like, hey, if you don't want to come back to the office and work in the office full time, we'll clip you that way. It'd be a nice way to easily cut down on the numbers. However, I think the danger is when you're just saying you don't come back into the office, are you in danger of possibly trimming some of the people that actually are doing a good job? Some of the people that are really, really good at their jobs, not just the slackers. What do you think?
Well, I mean, you have to, if you set up a set of standards, what constitutes performance and what does not constitute performance, you can judge people on that.
Oh, that's nice. Hey, Nick, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I like how you're thinking. All right, I've written down Nick's prediction, expectations, and how he'll judge Donald Trump on success. I have got Paul and Jack sitting in the wings right now, and we've got George Brauchler, brand newly christened DA for Judicial District 23 right here in Colorado. He's going to join us as well. I want to hear from you. 696-1971, 696-1971, or on the Dan Caplis Law text line. Let me know what your expectations and predictions are. The Dan Caplis Law text line number, 720-819-5115. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show. This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning. We are making history today in America. This is Bill Thorpe sitting here in the studio in Denver, Colorado. My pal Jeff Hunt is in Washington, D.C. He's outside the big arena where Donald Trump is going to be speaking later on today. He's doing all that work. He's going to be back with us tomorrow because he's got to do official stuff right now. But speaking of officials, hey, we'll get to the calls. Frank, Paul, Jack, hang with me. Donald Trump's going to speak shortly. But in the meantime, let's talk to the newly minted DA of Judicial District 23, former host of this program, George Brauchler. Hey, George, did you were able to clear bail and get out in time to do the interview this morning?
Yeah, I was. Here's the crazy thing, man. We had sweet seats for this thing. Like when they were going to do it outside, you can hear where we're at right now. You can hear the cheering because Donald Trump's coming out. And I know you got to cut away, but we ended up being converted to another alternative site for this thing, which is still super cool. But buddy, I've never seen a city locked down like this before in terms of security. Like last night, we were at some Newsmax event trying to make it back to the hotel. And it was like something out of the movie I Am Legend, you know, when they discover the virus and there are fences shutting down entire quadrants of this city in a way I've never seen before. If this isn't the safest place on earth right now, I don't know where is.
My goodness. Now, you've been there for a couple of days. What is the feeling like inside of D.C.? Because, again, it's supposed to be this liberal bastion. But for me, I kind of feel like there's a fog lifting over America, that this is kind of a new day in history. We can judge what's going to happen in the future, in the future. But for today, what's the feeling like in Washington, D.C.?
Yeah, I think it's a mixture. It's super upbeat. Like, this town is overrun with people who are here for the inauguration. The locals are trying to make as much money as they can. There are more Trump little, buy T-shirts, bling hats than you can imagine. But I'll say it's a little muted in this way. So many people wanted to be there for this moment, the one that we're about to witness, that you're about to cut away to. They wanted to be physically present in it, that you can tell there's just a little bit of disappointment. But right now, as you see this guy come out on the screens and stuff like that, people go nuts and cheer for him. I think it's pretty upbeat. There must have been a memo. There must have been a memo that went out to the elected officials from the other party, because as you saw them walk on screen, they must have been told, under no circumstances may you smile.
Oh,
you simply cannot show any joy at all in this moment. And man, I got to tell you, I'm excited. Later tonight, we're going to the Commander-in-Chief's ball. Looking forward to that one. That's one of the 3 official inaugural balls that Trump will speak at, or he'll be at, with Melania.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to get a dance with Melania. Don't know if that'll happen, but we're doing what we can.
Excellent. Now, George Brauchler, what are your expectations? How will you judge success for the first 12 months and 24 months of the Trump administration?
Well, this, man. He's only got 24 months. It's a 4-year term, but that's totally fake, right? Here, people are booing because Biden and Harris are coming out on stage. But he's only got 24 months. Midterm, second term Trump, they're likely to lose control of one or both of the houses of Congress. So success is, what is that short list of things he wanted to get done? And if he doesn't get them done in the first 6 to 12 months, they ain't getting done, because Congress will delay the last 12 months. He has a very short window to make things happen. And I think immigration physically will be one of them. I'm sure TikTok will be one that he claims success for. But how the economy does, and I don't know what levers he thinks he's going to pull, whether it's open market operations or something else, but how the economy does and the perception of it, that's a big deal too.
Oh, I like what you said there about perception of economy, because the perception can be reality in many ways, that if you perceive it this way, it is reality. Well, hey, my friend, I want to check in with you later on this week. We're going to have you back on the Jeff and Bill show, because Donald J. Trump is about to take the podium. Thank you so much for your time. And go arrest us. Yeah, thank you, man. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Hey, buddy.
All right. That's George Brauchler, Judicial District DA 23, newly minted there in D.C. Hopefully, we're going to find out whether or not he was able to dance with Melania. But more importantly, here comes the President of the United States of America. Yes, we get to say that now. Donald J. Trump. This is history. You're listening to 710 KNUS.
The President of the United States, the Honorable Joseph R. Biden Jr., and Vice President of the United States, the Honorable Kamala Devi Harris. Ladies and gentlemen, escorting the Vice President-elect, the Executive Director for the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, Mr. Michael Wagner, Senate Deputy Sergeant-at-Arms and Doorkeeper, Jason Bell, and House Deputy Sergeant-at-Arms, Mr. Sean Keating.
You're listening to inauguration coverage of Donald J. Trump on News Talk 710 KNUS.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President-elect of the United States, the Honorable J.D. Vance. Ladies and gentlemen, escorting the President-elect, the Staff Director for the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, Elizabeth Farah, House Sergeant-at-Arms, the Honorable William P. McFarland, Senate Sergeant-at-Arms and Doorkeeper, the Honorable Jennifer A. Hemingway, Senate Majority Leader, the Honorable John Thune, and the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, House Democratic Leader, the Honorable Hakeem Jeffries, House Majority Leader, the Honorable Steve Scalise, Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Honorable Mike Johnson, Senate Democratic Leader, the Honorable Charles E. Schumer, Ranking Member of the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, the Honorable Deb Fischer, and Chairwoman of the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, the Honorable Amy Klobuchar.
You're listening to the live inauguration of Donald J. Trump. This is News Talk 710 KNUS.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President-elect of the United States, the Honorable Donald John Trump. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
Waiting now for everything to kick off. We see a shot there.
Please welcome the Chairwoman of the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, the Honorable Amy Klobuchar.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 60th presidential inauguration. Today, President-elect Trump and Vice President-elect Vance will take their oaths of office, and we will witness the peaceful transfer of power at the heart of our democracy. For the past year, I've chaired the inaugural ceremony committee, which includes the leadership of Congress from both parties. We thank the committee and Capitol staff and law enforcement who worked so hard over the last year, and especially the last 3 days. You've done a beautiful job, and you have shown grace under pressure. Our theme this year is our enduring democracy. The presence of so many presidents and vice presidents here today is truly a testament to that endurance. We welcome President Biden and Dr. Biden. We welcome Vice President Harris and Doug Emhoff, President Obama, President Clinton and Secretary Clinton, President Bush and Laura Bush, Vice President Pence, Vice President Quayle and Marilyn Quayle. The justices of the United States Supreme Court are with us, all 9 of them I counted, and of course, the Trump and Vance families. This ceremony marks what will soon be 250 years of our democracy. It is the moment when leaders elevated by the will of the people promise to be faithful to our Constitution, to cherish and defend it. It is the moment when they become, as we all should be, the guardians of our country. Through war and peace, through adversity and prosperity, we hold this inauguration every 4 years, and today it falls on Martin Luther King Day. A further reminder that we must strive to uphold the values enshrined in our Constitution, the freedoms, the liberties, and, as is inscribed on the entrance of the United States Supreme Court, equal justice under law. But what makes this moment more than a passing ceremony is all who are watching it across the country, the people of this nation, the ordinary people doing extraordinary things. President Kennedy, who at one point worked as a senator in this building and would often walk through this very rotunda, once said, "In a democracy, every citizen, regardless of interest in politics, holds office. Every one of us is in a position of responsibility." With that responsibility of citizenship comes an obligation not to seek out malice, as President Lincoln once reminded us, but to view others with a generosity of spirit despite our differences. With that responsibility of leadership comes an obligation to stand our ground when we must and find common ground when we can. With everything swirling around us, the hot mess of division, it is on all of us, to quote an incredible songwriter who just happened to be born in my state, to ensure that our nation's democracy is our shelter from the storm. There's a reason this ceremony takes place at the Capitol. In other countries, it might be in a presidential palace or a gilded executive office building. Here it is traditionally held at the Capitol, the People's House. It is a fitting reminder of the system of checks and balances that is the very foundation of our government, 3 equal branches of government. That is how, for nearly 250 years, our great American experiment, grounded in the rule of law, has endured. So, as we inaugurate a new president and vice president, let us remember that the power of those in this room comes from the people. The construction workers who build our country, the teachers and healthcare workers who nurture us, the troops defending our freedoms, and yes, the firefighters in Los Angeles putting themselves on the line for us.
This is News Talk 710 KNUS. You're listening to live coverage of the inauguration of Donald J. Trump.
Our democracy's strength and grit must match theirs. May God bless our nation. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Endurance through the years is the ultimate test. To persevere through time is the truest measure of an idea, an institution, and a nation. Our founders wrote the Constitution so that America could withstand all the twists and turns of time. They wrote it to guide us and to preserve forever our right of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But as much as the truths and principles enshrined in our Constitution remain the same, our democracy promises the American people the power to change, to chart their own destiny. That's the beauty. That is the importance of democracy. It allows the endurance, the permanence of a nation through change. It allows nations like our United States both to avoid the obstacles and to seize the opportunities God has placed before us, all while staying true to our founding principles. Today is our country's 60th inauguration ceremony. Like all the others before it, it is a celebration of our right to set our uniquely American course. The past several years have been trying at times for many, many Americans, and also for the nations of the free world that we humbly strive to lead. In November, Americans chose again to steer this nation towards greatness, the secure, safe, and prosperous future that our founders envisioned for all of us. And today, we celebrate not only their decision to do so, but also the simple right and wisdom of a free people to make their own choice so that their nation might endure. And now, allow me to welcome Archbishop Timothy Dolan and Reverend Franklin Graham, who will deliver our invocation. Please rise.
You're listening to the live inauguration of Donald J. Trump. This is News Talk 710 KNUS, Denver.
Be still and know that I am God, supreme among the nations, supreme on the earth. Let us pray. Remembering General George Washington on his knees at Valley Forge, recalling Abraham Lincoln at his second inaugural, with malice toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right as God gives us to see the right. Remembering General George Patton's instructions to his soldiers as they began the Battle of the Bulge 8 decades ago. Pray. Pray when fighting. Pray alone. Pray with others. Pray by night. Pray by day. Observing the birthday of the Reverend Martin Luther King, who warned, without God, our efforts turn to ashes. We, blessed citizens of this one nation under God, humbled by our claim that in God we trust, gather indeed this inauguration day to pray for our President Donald J. Trump, his family, his advisors, his cabinet, his aspirations, his vice president, for the Lord's blessings upon Joseph Biden, for our men and women in uniform, for each other whose hopes are stoked this new year, this inauguration day. We cannot err in relying upon that prayer from the Bible, upon which our president will soon place his hand in oath, as we make our own the supplications of King Solomon for wisdom as he began his governance. God of our fathers, in your wisdom you set man to govern your creatures, to govern in holiness and justice, to render justice with integrity. Give our leader wisdom, for he is your servant, aware of his own weakness and brevity of life. If wisdom which comes not from you be not with him, he shall be held in no esteem. Send wisdom from heaven with him, that he may know your designs. Please, God, bless America. Please mend her every flaw. You are the God in whom we trust, who lives and reigns forever and ever. Amen.
You're listening to the live inauguration of Donald J. Trump on News Talk 710 AM KNUS Denver.
Mr. President, the last 4 years, there are times I'm sure you thought it was pretty dark. But look what God has done. We praise him and give him glory. Let us pray. Our Father and our God, thou hast said, blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. As the prophet Daniel prayed, blessed be the name of God forever and ever. For wisdom and might are his. He changes the times and the seasons. He removes kings. He raises up kings. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to those who have understanding. Our Father, today, as President Donald J. Trump takes the oath of office once again, we come to say thank you, O Lord our God. Father, when Donald Trump's enemies thought he was down and out, you and you alone saved his life and raised him up with strength and power by your mighty hand. We pray for President Trump that you'll watch over, protect, guide, direct him. Give him your wisdom from your throne on high. We ask that you would bless him and that our nation would be blessed through him. We also ask that you would bless and protect Melania as First Lady. We thank you for the beauty, the warmth, and grace that she shows not only to this nation, but to the whole world. We thank you for Vice President-elect J.D. Vance and his wife Usha and their young family. May he be a strength to President Trump, to stand beside him, to hold up his arms like Aaron held up the arms of Moses in the midst of battle. The prophet Samuel reminded the people, it was you that brought them up from the land of Egypt. And he said, now stand still that I may reason with you before the Lord. So Father, we take this moment to stand still, to remember the great things that you have done for this nation. Thank you for the protection, the bounty, the freedoms that we so enjoy. We remember to keep our eyes fixed on you, and may our hearts be inclined to your voice. We know that America can never be great again if we turn our backs on you. We ask for your help, and we pray all of this in the name of the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, your Son, my Savior, and our Redeemer, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Associate Justice Kavanaugh to administer the Vice Presidential Oath of Office.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, James David Vance, do solemnly swear.
I, James David Vance, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith.
That I will bear true faith.
And allegiance to the same.
And allegiance to the same.
That I take this obligation freely.
That I take this obligation freely.
Without any mental reservation.
Without any mental reservation.
Or purpose of evasion.
Or purpose of evasion.
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties of the office on which I am about to enter. So help me God. Congratulations, Mr. Vice President.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chief Justice Roberts to administer the presidential oath of office.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
And will, to the best of my ability.
And will, to the best of my ability.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.